Okay, welcome. It's quarterfinal time. I'm not gonna lie, this is my favorite way to watch a tournament. It's like rather than just watching it by yourself and like making notes, like watching it with you guys is really good. So, um, quarterfinals heard already. It's a banger, and that kind of thing. Or if it's too distracting, then I'll go to no comms again. But always good to hear if we can. So sorry, I should do that. Although it doesn't really quite work here. So I'm going to do that anyway. I don't want to change it because I had it all like lined up exactly for... I had it all lined up exactly for like LCK and stuff like that. And then now it's just casted listing some comms. Okay, should we just do without comms again? Let's do that. We'll do this without comms.
Welcome to
So,
Event VODs. Watch the full game from EMEA.
welcome to Event Mods. Okay. So, proper best of 5. Now we're in serious moment. So we spoke about this before. I think Suppermassive are a very good team, but I do think Ratones can absolutely win. Hey, Ranoff, thanks for the follow. So, they're loving the Maokai at the moment. Maokai first pick gives you a bunch of flexibility, not only in where it's going to go, but you can also have a few more options. It can be AP, you can play it with poke, you can play it as like engage, all that kind of thing. They have run it every time in jungle so far, but that doesn't mean that you can't flex it, you know? And that's one of those things with picks like this is that even if it was really easily counterable in the jungle, which it's not, but even if it was, then it's hard to still do it. Actually, the other thing is maybe like Caedrel's casting is better. Well, I kind of keep the casting in the background, so it's okay. Yeah, and as well, it's good denial pick as a first pick. And these flex picks are a bit more annoying always on red side, so taking it away on blue is good. And it's just powerful. And it's gives you a lot of easier to execute comps as a first pick, so that's why I think it's good as a first pick. They love the Ezreal too. Ezreal is here, Maokai, like... Okay, we're simplifying things down, like we're doing... we're doing... We're doing things simple, we're making sure we're always going to have options in the game, always have ways to play. Jax with double ban as well, and you've already got 2 bans on top side. I guess they banned Gragas already, so Poppy and what? Garen maybe? So a good ban, or Quinn? Because this is the thing, right? We spoke about like the Quinn before against us maybe wasn't so hot because we could just swap on it, but now you can't. So Quinn makes the comp a little bit odd, but you're still going to have some decent front line. You just, I think you ban Braum and you slam like Leona or something. Oh, okay, Quinn is banned. Okay, well then you can still, I think, go for something like the Garen, although in this patch it is nerfed a bit. I've seen people opt into that matchup a few times. Okay, so no support bans, which means you're probably going to have to blind support without any bans. So I guess you go for something quite neutral, like Alistar or something like that. The other thing you can do is ban something like Braum, and then you have options of like Leona, Nautilus, all those kind of things. But okay, LeBlanc, interesting. 0% pick rate, 0% ban rate, 0% presence. Not bad. It's weird because normally this would be a great thing to pull out in the beginning game of a best of 5, right? Hey guys, because you just say, right, now they always have to worry about LeBlanc, but because it's fearless, you suddenly lose that thing. It used to be, if you had a weird pick, you have this balance of like, okay, do we take it at the beginning, and so they always have to worry about our weird pick, or do we take it later on when it's a bit more likely to sort of catch people off guard, they're a bit more, maybe less prepared, or I don't know. But for me, it was always better to take it early, because then they have to worry about it. Like if LeBlanc works, then you'd always have to worry about it. But now you don't, because it's fearless. So taking these weird picks. Or I say weird because it's 0% presence, not because it's LeBlanc. Taking a 0% presence pick in the first game of a best of 5 is a lot different from what it used to be. Okay, and it's going to be the Rakan, so a safer blind than anything that I was mentioning before, which is why you don't need the bans. They double ban solo, like melee solo laners, so Sejuani's not going to be able to play with that, but you've still got the Sej Jacks. Yeah, so, okay, let's look at like comps and stuff wise then. I mean, LeBlanc is going to make the later stages of the game, I think, kind of hard to play for Supermassive. But in the late game, in a game like this, I think LeBlanc works like a poke champ, right? So you jump forward, you do a bunch of bursts, and then you jump back. And that's why having something like a Nautilus or something like that would be, I think, better. But you can't blind Nautilus here, I think, with Braum available. Maybe you can. Maybe it's just not. It's just it's an int Naut game if you take it. But it might be good. But again, this is with forgetting players. I think any support pick is hard. I think without any bans, any support pick is hard. It's hard there. I think. What did he say he wanted to go after the game? Someone said in the chat, if you're on YouTube, someone said in chat, Reckless said after the game he hated the Rakan pick. This is another reason why I love watching it with you guys, because you've not only seen it, and you don't spoil it for me, which I very much appreciate, but also you can give us insights about what the players were thinking, which is just like so fun. And that's why I love the whole like LR project and therefore also the Nord project, because we're just copying them, of doing stuff online and like publicly, because it's so interesting to get all these little things. Because I think the Rakan pick, I don't know what else you'd say. Like what else you would take. I think for me, my worry, there's two worries here, is that, okay, yes, Garen into Jax is okay, but Jax Sejuani is always something to be worried about, to be quite honest. And then the other worry is that LeBlanc is normally not a super strong champ late game, of course. Like super late game, she still won't be in this game, like super late game. But in the like mid and early late game, it's going to be really difficult to stop her just jumping in and poking people, because the only actual like direct lockdown you have is the Maokai. And so for me, again, it's impossible to say this because if you had different players, the whole draft would be different. But I know Reckless doesn't like Nautilus very much, right? And if you had a support who would play Nautilus, getting rid of the Braum and being able to take it might be an interesting angle. Or you just play into Braum and you say, okay, like the lane's going to be fucking so tough, but that's okay. We'll just keep moving around. I think you can't blind Braum, again, for the same reason. You get to block, of course, some of the LeBlanc poke with the E. But when it's blind and there's no bans, I can't even think exactly what would be more lane focused. The problem with Karma is that, firstly, you're you're the freest target for LeBlanc. You also don't have any lockdown for LeBlanc still, so it doesn't fit that problem. And the other thing is that Ezreal Karma is sort of like Lucian Nami, I would say, in that you have to play it really, really well. If you don't get huge value in the windows where you're strong, it's just not as good as other stuff. And so, to be honest, for example, this last split, we were not worried about anyone playing Ezreal Karma, even when they were giving windows for it, even when people picked it away from us. And to be honest, when we picked it, I think we shouldn't have done. So for me, it's hard. So is lane focused, then in lane you'll do well. But this is a weird thing where LeBlanc doesn't have actually lots of range, right, in her kit. But in her play, she does. I don't really know how to explain that, but I think you know what I mean. Like, her abilities aren't long range, but LeBlanc's play pattern is long range. And Azir especially, but Ezreal can as well, struggle a little bit. Yeah, that's a good idea. But again, I still think you need to ban the Braum for something like that. But that is a good idea. So someone suggested Maokai support with a different jungler. Yeah, I'm not sure here. Because also these two bans are really good. Like with Sejuani, getting rid of both strong melee picks that do fine into Azir, I think is also really good. I think maybe you have to, and also you don't want to let them have Silas when you've got Maokai and Yone is just really... I think you might have to give him Yone and just take Ban Braum. Don't know. Alistar would have been the other one for me. And then, okay, Braum is still not exactly super fun lane, but you can just play it quite differently. So the other pick, I would be more happy probably with an Alistar here, but I actually think also Rakan might be one of the better ones. But yeah, interesting. I think if you execute both sides really well, I'd much rather be Supermassive. But also, if it's just a standard, if you ever get caught into a situation where it's like front to back, you're just going to get absolutely murdered on Supermassive in late stages of the game. So I would still probably prefer to be Supermassive, but I'd be well aware that we could just still lose, even though I like the comp better, because you have to execute it very well, and there's a lot of pressure on LeBlanc to find angles and find poke before fights. Is Rel bad? I think Rel is worse than Rakan, both as a blind, but also actually in the comps as well, because they're all so mobile that Rel is, I think, a bit worse because the engage is a little bit more telegraphed. There are situations I could see where if you're coming from out of vision and you already ult as Rakan and you get like a flash W on LeBlanc, you can CC it, whereas there shouldn't be any situations where you're catching LeBlanc as well. There can be, there shouldn't be. But yeah, I'm not super against the Rakan. I think it was already going to be hard whatever you're blinding there. So
Yeah, definitely. I think
I
also like the Rakan like as an option to get like a bit more mobility into the draft.
so there's that.
It could be like really crucial to survive some
I'm a Mao hater. Yeah, I think
I think just like the game where we need to myself always in the side lanes, we need to get like an early game.
we did say a bunch of positives about Maokai. That's true, but there are some negatives too. At some point during the stream, I might have to dash out and get a package because I've got a delivery arriving today and I have to sign for it. So in don't know if anyone here lives in France, but in France, if you don't instantly run out and sign for it, they might just leave. So I need to make sure I'm out there to get it. As yesterday, as all days, do ask any questions you have in the chat. For me, this is more like a watch together necessarily than like an in-depth review, although I'm more than happy to in-depthly review stuff if you want. But for me, it's like I want to watch this anyway, and I'd rather watch it with people rather than just sitting by myself. It's LeBlanc rework is on PPE, right? It's not on live yet. I don't know anything that they're doing it. We were supposed to be doing scrims today, but we can't in the end. I think the roster is being announced still, though. So you'll be able to see the new roster soon, I think. Maybe I should message someone that to make sure. Because the plan was to announce today, but the plan was to announce and then do scrims. But I think we might announce anyway. Who knows? Do I get paid as coach? That's a complicated question, actually, now. It's not normally. The answer for the last 7 years or whatever is yes. But now, I'm not getting paid by Nord yet, although we are soon in a few different things. But I've actually also recently got a different job as a part-time job as well in esports, so I'm being paid for that. And then I coach coaches, and I get a little bit of money from doing that at the moment still, even though I haven't been able to dedicate that much time to it. What's my part-time job? I'm working as the chess manager at Falcons, which I think I'll be sort of tweeting about a bit soon. I haven't had a chance to meet the players yet, so... but if I can convince Hikaru to coach me on stream in chess, I wouldn't mind that. But anyway, sorry, I'm already getting so distracted for what's actually happening in the game. Okay, so heavy trading in mid lane, but even though they've got top prio, because Jax just like gives up the wave completely to come to top, which is going to allow for the next proxy. Wait, what happened with the jungle paths? They both just took bot side and just legged it for top scuttle, but why are they so slow? So they both do 3 camps bot. And then she just 3 camp spot into invade. Okay. Into invade blue. Okay. And it's the 3-man invade. Don't know how much that matters. Good, but that part's big to go back. Skeens does like his early invades in general. Do you already know the results of this match? No, I don't. Someone started messaging me a bunch of things about it. Like, oh my god, this and this and this. Oh my god, they talked what we talked about as well. And then like I was like, no, stop. So I know it's a banger, but that's it. And someone in the chat mentioned at the beginning it's in for a banger. But I don't know the results, no. I saw Kyo won and KCB won. Kyo is just a player, not a team. Phantasm won, which is pretty insane against Heretics. I had Heretics down as one of the favorites. I think as most people. Okay, I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to greed for that next wave, but instead gets the reset and base back. Boost swiftness already. Hey, okay, thanks for the follow. Okay, so TP back to top lane, which allows you to try and contest the beginning of the grubs, but because mid lane is super low, they want to just leave it. When you're 6, actually. Oh, no. I mean, Fiesta at this stage is very high health. According to Nemesis, we'll see a change in how LR draft during after this series. Yeah, I mean, we talked the last few days because we've been watching their journey, right? We talked the last few days about. I think there's some slight problems with the process of how they draft in these kind of situations, even though they've actually ended up with a good draft, I think, most of the time. But for me, I'm always a bit... It's hard to tell when it's 5 seconds out of sync. But I'm always a bit... I think it's something we've spoken about before. One of the really difficult things in coaching is you have to detach what actually happened to what, like, probably the process would have led you to. If that's a way to say it. Then like you might have ended up with a good draft, but if there's problems in the process and you keep repeating that process, you will eventually end up with something bad. There's a quote that I really like from Kasparov, which is something like losing can convince you to change what doesn't need to be changed, and winning can convince you everything is fine when you're on the brink of disaster. I think that's a really important thing to think about, because you can be in a situation where, I mean, even against like Nightbirds and stuff like that, I think there's a lot of problems that happened in the drafts from the process point of view, even though they ended up with something okay. But it's like Reckless knew he was going to take a ranged support, and Crowley picked his pick, and like 3 seconds before realized that Reckless wanted to only, like, was never going to blind a melee. And so that for me is a massive problem. But they ended up with a fine comp, I think, in that game. I can't remember exactly, but that's just an example. So that's something always to be aware of, and that's like the biggest challenge as a coach. So this hole in mid is becoming a big problem. So they lost Grubs because of the way that mid had gone. They lost Flash because of the way mid had gone, because LeBlanc is just going to get there faster and is much more useful in these early fights. And then also they die. So you just can't contest anything in River, which feels so bad. League is so volatile that even when you're doing a lot of things wrong, you can still go well and vice versa. Yeah, there's just so many variables. There's so many things. Like yesterday, in the game against EWI, I was saying, we talked about it for a long time, right? But there was a team fight where I think there's actually potential for them to get, Lost Ratones to get aced, like, pretty much for nothing and lose the whole game. But actually, they got an objective, they didn't lose anyone, and the fight was good. And so the real question is, what do you do with that? And my approach is to look at that it depends what the, in the series, I would never look at it and say this was horrible. But after the series, especially if you have time to kind of fix it, for me, you have to look at that as if it was a nightmare and we all got aced. But a lot of people don't, and I'm sure there's people who would have great arguments as to why you should just look at it as what is there. Can you get the wave? Almost. Okay. Bowser's the cull though, so he's going to eventually get his gold lead back from the cull. It's tough when you play games every day during EMEA Masters, so you don't really have time to look at those things. Yeah, and as well, it's not the end of the season. That's the part that makes it even tougher. I don't know whether, okay, I'm going to play things out while I reply, and we'll miss things. I think that's better than... pausing every time. It's tough that you play games every day during... Yes, so... The thing that's also super tough is, let's say you get to Worlds. Firstly, World schedule isn't as intense as this. But if you get to Worlds, then that's like the end of your year and there's going to be a break after. And so what Reckless talked about with T1 at Worlds, which I really love, is he was saying they just only talk about draft. And for me, that's like... That doesn't mean... I don't think they only talked about draft all the time. But it's like when you're already at the event that you're trying to perform the best at, that's when you want to just be like, okay, we're not going to get better as a team necessarily. Like we can't change how we play or how we set up objectives or how we do side lanes or anything like that. We change, we can only change the draft. And the problem is you're in this weird situation at EMEA Masters is where it's like, okay... This is your kind of main event, sort of, for winter. But you're going to start, our season starts again, next week. So they're going to finish this and then start another season. So it's like, do you try and work on, how you're playing? Or do you just focus on performing at EMEA Masters? So it's really difficult. So there's a comment on YouTube as well. Didn't you guys lose to LR 4-0? Still criticize them? What a wonderful world. Yeah, it's true. Thankfully, jobs are not decided by who wins, because otherwise everyone would get fired other than the team that wins. And also we weren't 4-0 or 0-4 to Lost Ratones. We were 1-7. So it's worse than 4-0, unfortunately. We did 1-3, we lost in the groups, first match, 1-3 in the upper bracket, 0-3 in the finals. How do you explain macro meta changes happening at international events like Worlds then? Exactly by that. For me, if your job as a team or if your goal as a team is to perform as best as possible in Worlds, then what you would ideally... nothing's ever ideal in coaching or performance. But what for me you would ideally want to be is once you get to Worlds, we're ready as a team for how our processes around the game. Therefore, the only thing is to work out that patch and to work out what we want to draft. So when Reckless was saying they speak entirely about draft, firstly, of course, that's a team that's been together for years, not just 1 year. So that's different. But I love that, where it's okay, now that we're here, all we want to do is just perform at a top level. So for example, take another sport. In rugby, for example, the week before the World Cup final is your lightest training week of any week in the season. Because we're not going to learn new things in that last week and change the way that we're going to play. Instead, we're just about making sure we reset and we get ready for the fight. Now, of course, that's a physical component, a massive physical component to that too. But for me, gradually learning the patch should be the goal. Now, if that's only for teams who are there to win Worlds. For a lot of European teams, I think that what we've done, it seems bad in a way, but taking the fact that you're at an international event, you get to scrim international competition, this is the best learning opportunity, is actually okay. And that's why I much prefer multi-year projects where you say, like, okay, the first year we're trying to learn as much as possible when we're there, and the second year we're there to perform. But you didn't answer Vigar's question. You just repeated your statement and said it was ideal. I'm trying to answer it if I can. So I'm saying the meta. The question was about meta changes, right? So for me, when you get to Worlds, if you're trying to win Worlds, what I'm trying to say is your job is to learn the patch as much as possible. A European team to go to Worlds, who go there to try and learn macro stuff and stuff like that. Yeah, that's true. If your goal is to not win, like if it's to do as best as possible in your regional competition, which is a much more kind of realistic goal, then I think it's completely fine to go there to try and like learn as much as possible, for sure. But like T1's, that's not their goal, right? And for it's not that you should never change anything. I just mean in general. That's why I was saying I've got very confused. So for EMEA Masters, what I'm saying is it's very difficult because you're at this tournament where, in a sense, this is like your best thing you're trying to perform here, but also you have another event, like another season starting next week. Okay, I've completely missed what's happening in the game, but we'll just enjoy it. Okay, I mean, it's already really, really tough. Let me jump back quickly because it was a little tough, and now it's like very, very, very hard. Okay, so next set of grubs is always something that people want to contest. We talked before about this like grubs and dragon thing, and at first stand, different teams prioritizing different things. LR have previously shown they really like the stack and the dragons, of course, but now they ended up losing both at the beginning. Okay, and then so it's now 5 grubs, dragon, 3 kills as well. I just blind. Okay, they want to crash the wave in. Reckless goes in but dies. Crown dies as well. What? Okay. Well, it's very tough. Okay, if you want me to explain more about what I was saying, I'm happy to. I don't think I explained it very well. So I never know if it's making it more confusing or not the more I speak about it. Very tough. Did Nemesis mention that they were changing the way they drafted? Did they say what that was, or? Hey, thanks. I mean, it's fun for me to do them. Like I say, this is not really a review. I don't know if anyone's here at the beginning. For me, I'm very bad at talking to the chat and watching the game, and I've not seen these games before, so it's just, I would watch them anyway, because I want to, because obviously we are going to play them again in like however long before it gets to NLC playoffs again, but also I'm just interested, and it's better for us if NLC does well, etc., etc. So I'm more, the last few days it's been more like we're watching it together rather than me necessarily review it. So what should LR do instead this game? For me, I would want to take a lot more time to think about that properly. I think from this stage, you're at that that in that situation where like we've got no agency left and it's about responding to them rather than necessarily being proactive ourselves. But for the early stages of the game, I would want to look at it again. I think off the top of my head, this Grubs contest, not Grubs, the top scuttle contest, I would definitely want to pay some attention to. Because what happened, like, Sedge came in, just stole our blue, and then also forced a flash on Grubs. The first death from Velia as well, I think it feels bad, but you have to just give up that bottom scuttle when mid is in a position where you can just instantly roam. Nemesis said he realised a lot of problems the more they play the series, but also knows how to fix some of the stuff coming in semi-finals. Okay. Well, they won then. That's good. Anyway. Maybe I'll just go to the next game if this one goes bad. Okay. Got the shutdown on the Lunk at least. Like, can you just... Let me look at this. Because this looked like it was going to go much worse than 1-for-1. No, don't worry about it. I think I got it just from the vibe anyway. Oh, it's because he gets insta-rooted, so he gets a bunch of burst already? And because it's flash as well, so yeah, flash trade, but... I thought in draft that LeBlanc was going to be a massive problem, and I still think it could be. It would have, even if the game was equal. Yeah, that's true. I never go into one of these thinking I genuinely am not going to realise what the result is. Also, the fact that people are interested in watching it means it probably wasn't probably wasn't a tragedy, considering I think probably there's more LR fans in the chat than Supermassive fans, considering this year. I think that's fair. Let me see. I will check actually. Is our roster getting announced today? Is our roster still getting announced today? Oh, I was literally writing a message because I recorded our first team meeting, which I'll put on YouTube as soon as we have. Hey, thanks, Kyle. Yeah, I've done. Like I said, I probably shouldn't call them reviews anymore, but it's been really fun watching them. And like, there's yeah, I'm a big fan of the project. Partly because of what it is. I've talked about this before, but I do think, probably not exactly what we and LR are doing, but I do really think the future of esports is much more of like public stuff, like streaming scrims and all that kind of thing. I do think it's the future. Not all of them, but that's a separate thing. But also, like, I know some people involved in the project, so I want it to do well, and it's also just fun. So much more fun watching any kind of sport if you're a fan of someone. So, like, if you don't like something, if you're not like super interested in something, but you want to get more interested in it, just pick a team to be a fan of. Honestly, it's like for me, is the best way forward. Like, if you want to learn to be a fan of, I don't know, American football, like pick a team, and then you'll be more of a fan because you just start to get invested. So, like, EMEA Masters is more interesting watching it, thinking I want the British team to win, than it is just watching it. And that's why I love this. Flags. That's what they did in the very first EU Masters, and then they stopped doing it for a while. And they were allowing people to be like really just super biased. So I remember there was a clip with Foxtrot was asked like who he thinks is going to win the series, and it was us against someone else as XL. And he just, as his answer, he just puts on loads of like Union Jack stuff. He's like, I think they're going to win, but I don't know why. And all that kind of thing, I think is just really fun. And you can take advantage of the fact that we've got teams from all these different regions. And I think that kind of happens anyway with like OTP. I think the way they've done that is really cool. And they're unapologetically super biased, and that's fun. When does the review start? It's like I've been talking about. I'm mostly just watching this to watch it and watching it with you guys. I was scrimming a lot on stream, but if bid team started to all have a scrim day online Wednesday, I think fans would really enjoy it. Yeah, I think one of the things that that's a thing to consider, of course, is that if you're a fan of like professional scrims, in a way, it's if everyone's all on one day, it can be difficult. Yeah, sorry, I would do a review, but I'm so bad at like looking at the chat and then also paying attention to the game. So when I'm reviewing games for myself or for the team or for scrims or anything like that, like I want to like sort of stay locked in it. Whereas with the questions, I like just chatting. So yeah, I think to watch along. Okay, that's a good idea actually. Next one I can do like as a watch along. I mean, today has been the worst, right? I think yesterday we had some at least good points that we came to together, maybe. Like it's mostly a watch along with some points, but this game already is like really hard. Yeah, we can do it. I'll change if there's future ones, which I'm going to pretend like I don't know that. Okay, yeah, I know there's future ones. We'll do a watch party then. Last time we were talking about how to approach team fights and stuff like that, right? I don't know how Cagel can read chat with so many viewers and also be paying attention to the game, and like it's not a skill that I possess. Now, for example, I just covered up the chat with something and I couldn't even work out how to uncover the chat. But also, when the game is closer, I'll be more paying attention to the game. I can't remember. So I was already talking about something. I completely forgot. Oh, yeah. So the thing for the streaming scrims is like for us, for example, like when multiple teams are scrimming, why would you watch the team that's not your like absolute favorite? Or another way to put it in more concrete terms, if we're scrimming at the same time as Lost Ratones, why would you ever watch us? Because like they're a much bigger team. They've been a much better team all split. Like it's an easy choice. So actually one of the things we're going to do next split is we're going to not be doing public scrims when they're doing public scrims. And so there is something, because someone said in the chat, like, what if they had like every Wednesday is stream scrim day? So I think watching them like that would be, like doing it like that maybe wouldn't work. But my point for me in terms of why I'm saying it's like the future is I do think that the future of esports involves getting more kind of value. It's a kind of cringe term, but I think it's the most appropriate one from the players than we have done for the last like 5-10 years. Hey, Conrad. No, I didn't watch yesterday. This is my first time seeing it, which is why we should change it to watch party rather than review. Is the full Nord roster already announced? Yes, it's going to be announced today. It is already. I just got confirmation. So I'm not going to tell you what it is until it's announced. Wait, let me message Bash and say, when are you announcing the roster, by the way? Okay, so that one was just, I don't think the draft is optimal. I think that this in the side lane, like I said, and LeBlanc is always going to be difficult, but the game was already toast by the second grubs. Like we contested second grubs and everyone died, but we were already behind. So already it was really, really hard. So I'll do game 2. I think, as I said, I think there's a lot of games. Unfortunately, I have like some work meetings as well, so I won't necessarily be able to. Well, I want to watch them all, but that's why I'm kind of going quick. I'm going to change it to watch party. E-Masters watch party. When I update my stream, it doesn't send out another like review or anything, right? Like, sorry, not review, like message. You know, it has like a message on Twitch. It doesn't, because I don't want to like spam people with messages. But I change it to watch party. My favorite F1 driver. I don't watch any F1. I only watch Drive to Survive. So my favorite F1 driver is not based on anything about that. It's literally just the show. And to be honest, I would say I probably don't have one. I love the show. I think what they did with sport documentaries is fantastic. I would love it if someone did that for League, but I don't know who could ever actually do it in a way. Because the thing for me that was so good, well, actually, I won't talk about it. I love movies and films, so I can talk about that. But I'll stick to the game. Yeah, double bow spans,
And I think especially if we see the pick that comes after the Wukong, it makes perfect sense to then combine with the
and it's blind pick. Oh, no, it's not blind pick.
of the cannon. Perfect.
Oh, no, well, it is, yeah, because it's flex and Ambessa.
I think with this time we might really have a cannon coming up for top lane.
And so it is blind pick volley bear.
If you want to have some disengage, it could be a good pick. But if you go back towards the Spellja, we felt like he needed a little bit more agency. Of course, we're still looking at Ben phase. There's still a couple times needed to pick. And you feel like, in a way, what Ratones are right now drafting, there is more agency for Spellja.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like with a champion like Pantheon, where Tom Spica was one of the first to pick him up back.
That's,
He showed us that there's this amazing.
wait, sorry, quickly, one minute. I need to grab some more water. And we can talk about that draft again. Okay. I'm an idiot. It was just my chair. That's brutal for the chair. Okay, so yeah, like I say, because it's a flex, it's it is still blinding the top volley bear, unless the volley bear can also flex, and then you play like Pantheon support, volley bear jungle, all those kind of things. But don't think Pantheon support is a really reckless pick. And Bessa though, for me, like, okay, it is actually got a 50% win rate in top lane. I wouldn't say it's like a bait pick, but for us, a lot of the time in ERLs, like it's just, I mean, in 15.5, for example, it has like a 30% win rate. Like since it got nerfed, it has a negative win rate in a lot of situations because it's quite difficult to. Not me, Abby. Yeah, it's just difficult to execute in team fights. The Ambessa. Okay. I have no idea what volley bear into Kennen is like. I would think it's tough, but maybe someone here knows. I don't know if he's played this matchup a bunch or anything like that. And of course, it's going to be the Bouses like AP. AP volley bear and stuff like that. I do think targeting Bows still is a good approach. I actually still think probably even with lane swaps, the thing of taking away 5 of his champions would be something that's really interesting to try. Like I said before, it's not as good as it used to be, for sure, but it'd be interesting. Supermassive looked at Supermassive mid lane, came to the conclusion he didn't play Ambessa. Okay, well this is the thing. This is the massive advantage to doing a huge amount of your scrims, or all your scrims, off stream, is that you can actually play stuff purely on, well, hidden accounts are not so common. It always used to be that everyone had like 3 hidden accounts. Nowadays, they don't really do that. But you could play a bunch of Ambessa in scrims. And that's the massive advantage, you know. So I talked about the Cho'Gath flex, which they'd done in hidden scrims against us in the finals. And that's even with most of your scrims being public and some not. So I think probably Supermassive have thought that through. If we pick Ambessa, they're going to think it's top, but we can put it mid. And so they probably actually already sort of planned this. And there's nothing you can do about that, like as a kind of trap to fall into, because you're right. You can't not think you can't think it's going to be mid if they've shown no priority on it, no games on it in mid and stuff like that. So if you need to take a top lane here and there's nothing else we can take, you know, if this is game 1, they probably take, I don't know, Ezreal Pantheon, and then you can see a little bit more as the draft progresses, but there's no reason for them to reveal the flex. So at a certain point, you're going to have to just guess, unless you save it till 5. So your choices are you save your top lane till 5, even though you're pretty sure they've already picked a top lane, or you just take something. And especially with bans, and they can ban more things again, maybe you just take something. Quick question. Some team comps like the one on the left is hard to execute. Why would you take a risk like that? Is it because of Fearless? No, it's not because of Fearless. People used to draft hard to execute comps often. It's just because if you think you can execute it, I also think it's a much nicer situation to be in, where like, okay, if we play perfectly, we'll be fine. We're gonna win. I think that's fine. And as long as you can do it, as long as it's something you practiced, as long as it's something that you're comfortable with, I think it's okay. You're also 1-0 up in the series. So this is the time to do it. Of course, the thing with Fearless is you will have to do more comps, but there are enough simple to execute comps. You just stay away from champs like Ambessa and stuff like that, and already it can be easier. Top lane matchup's horrible for volley. Okay. Is it really worth banning Baus champs? Like in this series, is always had a threat. It's a really good question because it feels like it should be, but it also feels like it shouldn't be at the same time. So it feels like it should be because he has such a priority on a certain set of champions, and then the ones afterwards are all kind of strange. Like I think he played Kane in this series, right? Like it's kind of weird. Or he played like, I mean, Quinn is less weird. It was more weird when he picked it than when everyone else started to pick it afterwards. So it feels as a coach sometimes like, okay, it's quite tempting to get rid of some of his really strong picks. I think he's also insanely good on Sion and Gragas as well. And it can be like, I think on Sion and Gragas, he can easily be the most valuable player in any game. So it feels like a good thing. But you're right, he's so good at always being useful in a game. Actually, that's not quite true. He's so good at very often being useful in the game no matter what happens. And so, who knows? He has a big champion pool, but I do think there's quite a big gap between the ones he's the best at and the one that he's less good at. So there are people who get targeted more, not necessarily because they don't play loads of champs, but because like their best 2 or 3 are insanely good, and the rest of them are not quite so good, and that's why they're more likely to get targeted than someone who has like they only play 6 things, but they play them all about the same level. That's harder to target than someone who plays 10 things, but 2 or 3 of them are really good. So less likely to be banned. Why not Baus pick Ornn has wave clear and good weak side? I don't know. I'd have to ask him. Yeah, but this is the other thing. Like we've spoken about it before in like the bans on 4 and 5. The thing is that if you're banning, I think he's also very good on Volleyball, but in the right matchup. So if you're banning a couple of things, it has to really make a big difference as to why you're not like kind of banning everything. Yeah, I guess, is there no cheese build on Ornn? Because the problem is that when you have a champ where like all his scales are like armor and magic resist, it's hard to like make a cheese build. Like if they changed Ornn, so his base damages were like the same, but he had AP scales, I think Baus would play it. Whereas like your W just instant one-shots the wave or something like that.
Exactly, and it all comes down to what is the conclusion of this big event phase. We've seen the draft phase.
Because he plays full AP Gragas, and he often plays AD Sion as well. I mean, he plays tank Sion too, and he plays Sion for the utilizing the passive and shit like that, and because he has for ages, I think as well. Like the old, I was actually thinking about this the other day. Imagine if he'd started playing competitive before they changed Sion passive. You know, when you just one-shot towers. I'm quite glad. Quite glad by the time we played against him that you can't just at one-tap towers with the Sion passive. Cage was tested AP on it, wasn't pretty. He just doesn't have. Does he even have AP scales? He must have a few, right? But isn't he one of those champs that scales a lot of like resists? It's like a damage Cassante build doesn't really make sense, right? Because he gets more damage from not building a damage build. I don't know the exact numbers, but you know what I mean. It's not like Tom Kench where you can build full AP and your W just hilariously one-shots people. Crit on goes crazy. Full on hit on. That's what I want to see. Okay, so what have we ended up with? Jhin, Gragas. Okay, so it is just going to be Ambessa into the Ambessa. Yeah, okay, I like that. Now, of course, playing in mid lane is very different, and especially for Baus's playstyle, I think it's much worse. It's much harder to get proxies in mid. You can maybe start to threaten the camps quicker, but you can't proxy the next wave quicker. But if you're constantly swapping back and forward, that's good for Lost Ratones for me. Because firstly, they have more wave clear, like the E and stuff. And later on, Ryze will be able to just one-shot the wave and move to the other side. And also you have the Ryze ult for extra speed. Like going back and forward, like all that kind of thing, also avoids the actual matchup from happening. That was the whole point of lane swaps in the first place, right? You were avoiding your bot lane just getting absolutely murdered. They would run to top lane instead. This time, not the first time lane swaps happened. And so swapping back and forward, I think, is good for LR, and just constantly doing these swaps. It's also, they're good at this style. We've talked about it before. I think they're potentially the best team at EMEA Masters at just like the moving around the map and the tempo play and that kind of thing, and realizing that we actually don't need to match, or we do need to match, like all those kind of things, like trading tools, all that kind of thing, which I think ERL teams, including us, by the way, like really struggle with. Sorry for the off-topic question. Just saw a tweet about Mulky about how hard it is to find scrim partners because LR fanbase can alienate their opponents. Obviously, there's no way clip from an LR chat. We would scrim them all the time. If we weren't in the same league, we'd scrim them all the time because they scrim on stream, which is what we want to do. They bring a lot of eyes, which is what we want. And they're really fucking good. And they're also, for me, it's important that the team is also a good scrim opponent in terms of like scrim etiquette. And they absolutely are. If we say 20 minutes break, it's 20 minutes. If we say 15 minutes break, it's 15 minutes every time. And there's a lot of teams where that's not the case. So for me, I would, if we weren't in the same league, like if we were in Prime League or something, I would want to scrim them like every week. I would want it to be like a regular scrim partner and stuff like that. So we have thought a lot about how we're going to scrim compared to them, but a lot because of the reasons that I said already, where we don't really want to be scrimming at the same time as them because we're in the same league and they're bigger and they were better. So why would you watch us instead of watching them? So we want to be scrimming when they're not scrimming. Sorry, streaming scrims when they're not streaming scrims. I so far that I've one experience with bad LR fan base was literally 20 minutes ago. Other than that, it's been perfect. It's been awesome. I said this loads. I think when you have big fan bases in anything, they're always going to be dickheads. That's just what happens. So for me, I've got no problem. I would stand by this. I would much rather be in a stadium where everyone's booing you than be in a stadium where everyone's quiet, having experienced both. So Solari, for example, like obviously have a big rivalry with KC. So when I was there was like times where the KC fans arrived early because our game was the game before them to boo us. And I'd much rather that than games that I've played with Excel, for example, where we're playing an LEC and you win and it's like a couple of golf claps, you know? I'd much rather have like the negative, like just passion is just fun. And this is like why we do it. You've got to just not take yourself too seriously. Obviously, it shouldn't be toxic and all those kind of things. I'm just saying the LR fan base for me has been unbelievably positive, considering how large it's getting. Like the larger it gets, the more negative fans there will be, and people will always remember those more. But like even the people who've like disagreed with us or thought we were bad or whatever, like have been so nice. So always boo Nord. Yeah, you have my permission to boo Nord. If the options are to boo Nord or to not watch, you can come and boo us. You can just boo in my chat. But you know what I mean, though, right? Like you've seen those esports situations where it's like it's just really quiet, and it's like, oh, congratulations, you won. And that for me, it's just not. It's not exciting, and I like the exciting. I've missed what's going on again. I'm so bad at it. He solo boloed. So also the other thing is that because Baus will be much more familiar with this kind of matchup, because if you're playing the quote unquote weird thing, you're always going to know more about the matchups than the people you're playing against, because it could be that Armut's never played against this kind of weird AP top volleyballer, maybe, but Baus almost certainly has played against Kennen. He'll know, like, okay, we keep swapping around, but at 6, I'm okay. So I don't know if he's calling this, like at 6 I'll beat him. Oh my god, that damage, by the way, is absolutely mental. And I can promise you, Armour's thinking the same thing in that situation. Like, oh my god, the damage. Okay. Don't want a situation like that ninja clip on New Year's. I don't know that clip. If it's PG to explain, you could. Well, it doesn't have to be PG. I'm just not going to read it out if it's not. But yeah, I don't know that clip. I don't. Ironically, I don't actually watch very much like Twitch streams of like individual people. End up like NNO fans bullying No Way for missing a cannon. It depends on how you do it as well. But no, for me, like I think it's been such a credit to Caedrel for how positive and how good the fan base has been. And maybe if we were more competitive, I would get more of the negative side of things. Maybe it's because it was never close. I'm not sure. If we ever win, I'm expecting some more messages that are maybe not quite so friendly. But again, I don't care. Like, it's not that I don't care. Obviously, I prefer it to all be more positive. But just seeing the passion is the thing that's awesome. And I'd rather see negative passion than no passion. Hey, thanks, Simplicent. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I think everyone in LR is doing such a good job of keeping it positive, and I don't expect it to be 100% positive because you can't have hundreds of thousands of people and not have some dickheads, basically. Oh, okay. People, okay, I thought it was like a really toxic situation. with Ninja, I mean. I thought you were going to say like there was something really horrible happened. He just got ignored. Yeah. Well, this is the thing that I mean, Ninja is famous, right? But he's also like internet famous. And when you're not online, you have to remember that's not quite the same thing. We've gone full watch party for this game already, and I apologize for that. Like I say, if you want me to analyze anything, like we can go back and look at it properly. Because I'm enjoying the watch party aspect too much. I mean, that's a nightmare, by the way, that you're just getting twice solo killed in this counter. Double ban into flex something that you're not used to flexing into double solo bolo. That's an absolute feels bad moment. And this is the thing as well, like, this comes back to the question before, like, Baus feels like someone that you can take advantage of in the draft, and then you get in these kind of situations, and it's just like, because also I can promise you that Armit's thinking like, I'll just murder him if I get Kennen into Volibear. And maybe without the swaps and all that, maybe he would have done, I don't know. But it's hard to have, you can't have no ego as a pro player, you know? So you have to think like, if I get a good matchup, I don't care that he's got a weird champ. I'm just going to murder him. And then the problem is that sometimes it does happen and sometimes it doesn't, like this. And now your kind of whole draft strat, if Fiesta's not a like known Ambessa player, your whole draft strat was around getting this top lane matchup, and you're just getting murdered in it. So unlucky, I guess. Like go next. I think a lot of teams have given Balsan and countered it, then AD Sign is actually really good in the matchup. Yeah, I thought we would see more, now that there's no swaps, I thought we'd see more stuff like Trundle into things like the Sound. Should Velia stick on Maokai? I think he should never play tank champs and play carry since Velia champs. Yeah, I mean, they have a huge priority on Maokai that they didn't have during the whole season. And now Maokai's worse than it was earlier in the season. So I haven't been... To be honest, I haven't been super impressed with a lot of Maokai's, especially when you have to be building like Leandries and stuff, even at any level of play. Okay, so while we're making a play here, their play on the weak side, Baus just going a little bit too far forward. It doesn't go. Okay, I thought he got the whole wave. But without ult, he's just too far forward, and then it's the classic thing that a lot of teams do where you're trying to help, but because teleport takes so long now as well, And now you might have the same problem. They just repeat on the weak side. And this is one of the few things that you still have open to you if you're in a game that's behind. I mean, it's not that far behind, of course. They're now like decent gold. I mean, the thing that's happening in top lane is not great. But so it's just for this wave. So while we're taking this on the top side of the map, if you're Lost Ratones, this is. While we're taking this, we just have to play safe on the next wave. So this one wave he can clear, this next wave he can't. And it's because it's their only kind of option. They either take Dragon or they kill you on bot lane. Because they're losing stuff on the other side. What can... I mean, if you're just talking about champs that are good against... good at taking grubs, then... I mean, sorry, grubs, what am I saying? Dragon. Then I'm sure there's loads, but the other thing about Maokai is it allows you that flexibility we talked about before, why it can be a very good early first pick, all those kind of things. And you need to first pick something in those kind of games. Like I said, they hadn't over the year played as if Maokai was their most valuable pick, but they've been doing that a lot at EMEA Masters. I don't know if that's one of the things that might change from what someone said. Nemesis said they're going to change how they approach draft. Could be you're just changing what your priority picks are and those kind of things. That could be useful. Thoughts on some players communicating more or less during competitive scrims? That always happens, and I would say wherever we can, as a coach, you should kind of try to avoid it, but you have to be aware that it's really... Oh, sorry, I was trying to pause and I fucked it. Okay, we're back. You have to be aware that it's going to happen, and there's also people who are, let's say, like your strong leader in the game. In competitive games, they're the ones who talks. They're the ones who like shot calls everything. Like I saw a clip from LR with Nemesis on Karma, or for us, I mean, it's a little bit hard because I think Treats just wanted to do that in all scrims as well. So it's a bit different. But or for Santorin, for example, right? Like he knows so much about the game. It's insane. He could just like fully boss a game and tell everyone where to go. But it's really tiring to do that like over and over again. And so there is like real legitimate reasons why you would want to talk, why you can't talk 5 games practice every day, the same as you talking competitive. But everyone's going to be different because there's a lot more pressure already. So there's things that are like understandable, conscious, which would probably make a different decision about how much we talk just because of like too tiring and stuff like that. There's also the pressure thing, which is massive. And it's really strange, like coaching league, because when you're coaching anything else, your practice is going to be very different from normal. I mean, esports are all more similar than normal sport, but I'm thinking about sport in my head. So, like, if you're coaching your team in football, you might end with some sort of match or some kind of near game scenario, but most of your practice will be drills and stuff like that. And then the actual game will be only like actual games, where because our practice is just a full game, it can be very difficult to, well, for a lot of reasons. But one of them is that you're never going to be able to recreate the pressure of a real game in practice. And so that extra shot of adrenaline really makes things quite different, and everyone plays differently as well, and so the whole thing is very different. It's much slower, there's much less like tactical plays, there's much less kind of things happening in the game. So if you're playing a champion that's maybe less involved, like Karma, and you can just like absolutely run the game, then that can be fantastic. But doing that every game in scrims is exhausting. Is it better to flex Maokai into top sup and get Velio carry jungle? Well, my guess would be the reasons that they're taking the Maokai early, the reasons they think they're really strong, don't apply if it goes to support or top. So if it's around dragons, it's not going to have an impact in top lane, right? I think it's really good for LR to have someone like Nemesis and Reckless who achieve. Yeah. It's insane. I said this. I was saying this the other day because I remembered it because I just made a short about it. It's so OP to have people like Nemesis, Reckless, like these super experienced players on your team, or like we had Santorin and Treats, because like they understand the game at a deeper level than most DRL players. That's just the truth, or if not all. But also they can actually find those windows in the game. Like they'll find you windows where actually we just need to like just move around the map. We just need to trade sides, trade, or something like that. Or like treats will find you engages that are just like, or the one I was looking at before was from an earlier game in EMEA Masters where Nemesis just found this insane flank. And in the game before, the enemy team needed flanks and they never found them. And in the game where LR needed flanks, like Nemesis finds like this insane one. And it's always going to be, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Game winners. Like, it's just that, it's hard to describe what it is, you know, it's like, because it's not just experience. It's experience plus like killer instinct plus remaining calm. I don't know. It's just the way you see the game. How do teams prepare for champs like AP volley that only one person plays? You can. This is the thing. So there's a bunch of ways to prepare for it. But the question is like, is it going to be like worth your time? Because you might never match up against LR in EMEA Masters. So for example, us, considering we're much more likely to match up against them because we're in the same league, other than just getting like scrim practice against it, which we can do, hopefully. The other thing would be to do stuff like play it yourself a bit to understand, get someone to 1v1 you who plays it a bit, or just watch games. Those are things to do. But there's a danger of focusing too much on what the enemy person is doing and then not enough on what you're doing. So it's difficult. And you get, I think, huge advantages by just playing weird stuff and playing it, especially if you can play it to the level that like Baus plays a lot of the weird stuff. Or the same stuff, but he's playing weirdly. You know, like people play against AP Gragas, but it's not the same. And so like, how do you get used to that? And also, how are you going to be with it? So for example, last split, I'm going to say, because this split, obviously we're going to have a different roster, and I think the way that we'll play will be quite different. But after the first games against them, there's the question of like, okay, do we focus as much on waves as they do? Do we stay as split as they do? Or actually, we came to the conclusion of the problem was not that we overgrouped, it's that we didn't force enough when we did group. And so even that kind of thing is really hard when you don't have a super amount of practice against them. Yeah, you can always have another player do 1v1s, but yeah, the other player is not going to be Baus. Yeah, that's a good point. So it's better than nothing, but if he's the only one who plays it, then like, okay, you can learn it and play it a bit, or you can have a friend learn it and play it a bit. If we had an individual coach in every role, you could have your individual coach learn it and play it, and it'd be much more useful than not doing anything. But is it the most valuable use of your time? Don't know. It's difficult. And it's even more difficult in a tournament like EMEA Masters because you might never play against them. So you're going to put the effort in before you even know if you're going to match up against them. Like it's hard. So happy about Fearless Draft? Yeah, me too. I think it makes it so much more entertaining to be a pro, but also to watch pro play. NA at Worlds. Exactly. I think you have a massive advantage doing stuff like that. But no one wants to look silly and try it and lose. Have an academy team put the top player on AP volley juicy. Yeah, honestly, there was a thing. If anyone was watching OGN from we've gone full watch party, by the way. I hope that's okay. But there was a thing with there's a thing in OGN when it was like you had sister teams. So it wasn't even academy teams. It was like sister teams. There was a story. I don't know how true it was, but there was a story that Samsung Blue and Samsung White were the main team and Samsung Blue were the secondary team, or it was the same, it was like MVP and all those kind of things. And supposedly what they did is Samsung Blue played other teams and then would try and recreate being that team versus Samsung White. So like we're going to play like, yeah, let's say we have an academy team and the academy team scrims us and tries to play like Lost Ratones, and their top laner plays all this stuff and just tries to proxy all the time. Okay. I want to see what's actually going on in this game. But yeah, it's interesting. No, it's never going to be on the same level, and it's never going to be as good as the person you're training for, but it can be better than nothing. But the question is never like, is it just straight up better than doing nothing? Because it's like, it's still going to cost you time. It's going to cost your academy team time to learn it, all that kind of stuff. I think what you can do is you can draft the same way as the team that you're like, as in your academy team could draft like G2. If you're like KCB and you're playing KC before the finals, you can say, right, we're going to draft like G2. But to try and play like them is very, very, very hard. You might be right. I'm not sure. I thought it was Samsung White was the big team, and Samsung Blue upset them in OGN a couple of times. Partly because they knew each other so well, and then Samsung White in Worlds just rolled over everybody. But it might be the other way around. In which case, Samsung White winning Worlds would have been the. I don't know. Well, if both of you think Samsung White was the smaller team, then maybe. I remember it not being an upset that Samsung White won Worlds. The upset was Samsung Blue won OGN. So maybe I'm misremembering that. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. So someone on YouTube thinks White. So okay, so it's 2 for 2. Someone on YouTube agrees with me. White was the main team. Sorry, there was a question that I'm trying to scroll back to before we got distracted by the Samsung White. It's easier to play to your own strengths than to turn to counterplay. Yeah, for sure. And you can get too into like too distracted by what the opponent's doing, and that's for sure a danger. Everyone has their unique style. Not necessarily. I think there's a lot of people who play champions in a very similar way. I think most people do. Not the exact same way, but it's not like Baus plays champions in a completely different way. Okay, let's look at this. So 3 dragons. What has even happened in this game? 3 dragons, 3 crabs. Also, I can't pause it and also look at this. Gold is... There is a gold lead, but does it matter? Again, I'll do the 10% rule. No, it doesn't really matter. LR want to be... I mean, both teams. Flanks are really good for both teams. Because it's the AP volley, not like tank volley. Obviously, a lot of dive from Supermassive, so they can get on someone. Flash check is super important. So Nemesis, no flash, but Bao, no flash as well. So if you can ever get on Ashe, everyone should just be instantly sending on Ashe. But the divers on both teams also don't have flash. Baus doesn't have flash, and Fiesta doesn't either. So Kennen with flash is big though too. So they put the Herald down to force a response. Dragon coming up in some time. I can't actually see when this is. Is that 3 minutes or is that? Okay, yeah, so ages for Dragon. I don't know what Nemesis is really doing there. So what, why is... So Nemesis clears bot wave and then he's coming across, but I'm not quite sure what they're exactly fighting for. From the way they're positioning, I thought this was going to be 9 seconds till it's up, not 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Because I think they can just go quicker. You're not fighting for the mid wave, you're just fighting. You've gotten the tower top. So for me, I would just prefer them to have not positioned so aggressively here, because now Nemesis comes to join the fight, but he's got no flash. And even though the arrow misses, he still dies. But if the arrow hits here, he just dies over there, right? But now a couple of people die, and it's going to cost maybe Atakan, but actually you take a lot of damage from it. So can they stop this? No. Yeah, I think they can't. Because it's your jungler's con as well. So okay. So that was a bit of a mistake. You got 2 towers for it though. You got the tower top beforehand and the tower mid, and mid's just about up. And when you've got no dragons and only 3 grubs, that 25% extra is much less than it otherwise would be. You know, if LR get their 25% extra and they've got 3 grubs, or especially Soul, it can just be absolutely insane. So the XP, of course, is really, really useful, but not the end of the game at all to lose that Atakan. Not that. So it's not a big deal, but it's of all objectives. It's Arrow does hit. He tries to go back for the wave, but so it costs a bunch of ults, but they do manage to pick up Baus. 50 seconds on the dragon though, so I think they just can they just sack top and play for the soul instead? So here the ping's coming out from Supermassive. We want to play high for this mid wave because we want to make sure that we can deny the soul. On this mid wave is going to be big, but Baus is not there yet, obviously because he was dead. So they are able to get position on it though, and they play the wave like on this side so that they can always have like quicker avenue into the dragon. Okay, really nice E from Velia, I think, yeah. So he's got his fully charged up passive so that he's there for this situation, you know? If Alistar or Pantheon get hit by the ult, it can be good. But maybe it's not enough. So Baus is then going to have better access this way because all of Supermassive dive that way. The combo from Reckless unfortunately hits no one, so the follow-up's not stopped at all. And you just have just too much dive. So Reckless wants to go on them here to stop them engaging, but because he combos as... Why does that not interrupt Leona? Doesn't that normally interrupt if the E's already landed? Also, I wouldn't even combo this necessarily. Again, this is hindsight 2020. Because obviously the Q misses as well. Oh, he didn't even combo, yeah. But I don't know why that doesn't knock away. No, he Qs after, right? He hasn't Q'd yet. I thought the same. But it's always about like when it connects, right? So I thought what would happen is because he does it now, but maybe it technically doesn't connect. No, it looks like it, because look, he Qs now. So he didn't Q before. But I don't know why it doesn't stop it. I kind of thought it would stop that, but... Yeah, maybe it's just an angle or what. Like, I think he's got no flash, obviously. He could flash Q, but he can't because he doesn't have flash. And they've just got so much dive. And you get flash from both carries as well.
That's the kill that you need. If you're only going to be able to take down one, then it's the jungler you want it to be. Straight onto the Drake goes Supermassive. They're going to be able to pick this one up uncontested. And there really isn't anything else for Los Ratones to get across the rest of the map. The key thing is not just the fact they get Velia in that team fight, but it's that Crowny and Nemesis have to go scattering to the four corners of the map, trying to get away from all of the rest of the damage. Sure, they survive, but if you're running, you're not hitting, you're not being able to be useful for your team. Supermassive, they find themselves a great pick right there.
Very tough for Los Ratones. Supermassive with so many tools to start the play, and Los Ratones just have not been able to keep the target of the aggression alive. They've not been able to...
And it's the proto belt. I like that he's showing that you can do different stuff. You don't all have to do the same thing. I think that's really good. But every time it's pressure on that dragon. And this is why teams at First Stand started to prioritize dragon more and more, especially teams like KC, and why I think LR do it. Just presses you every time now. Okay, you get that ult. You get the ult from Kennen, which is good. Doesn't cost him his ult either. And you get the Ashe ult too.
No armor, not a stitch in the inventory, so those turret shots are hurting it.
Yeah, and if you can't turn the tower off and you've built like this...
He's not trying to kill him there, I don't think. I don't think he's ever thinking, I'm going to kill this guy 100-0. But he forces Kennen ult and gets out.
The Baron spawning onto the Rift right now, 25 minutes into this game, and the gold barely a wisp whisper between it for all of the fighting, for all that we've been talking about Supermassive taking control of this game, they haven't been able to turn that into a goal lead. That's something that's
Okay. Speed it back up because I think there's a bunch of games and we're only on game 2. Yeah, also he gets Kennen ult, right? So that's insane. Rise with the Symbiotic boots, but like you say, also now Ravagans as well. So he is going to hurt. I would have thought he would have gone more tanky. But he's going to do a shit ton of damage. So 130 on the Dragon. Again, it's Soul. So Supermassive really want to pressure on the top side of the map, which allows Ratones to get the mid-wave high. Shadowing on this side to collapse on the Kennen. This I really like. And you've got that double TP. Yeah, really nice. So now he can base and TP, and Kennen's going to be up as the Dragon comes up, and he's level 15, so is his ult's going to be up as well, right? Baus is 16. He's going to get a lot of pressure in top lane, and they can probably make the call to just play this slowly. No, okay. So there are two options: is you either like keep pushing top and you try and play the Dragon as slowly as possible if you're winning the 1v1, but I guess with his ult back up, you maybe can't dive him. Or you just crash that wave in, you meet back on the... I can't see this. Next mid wave? No. Yeah, so you either rush the Dragon or you meet on the next mid wave.
Into the backline and Bessa as well. And for Lost Ratones, you've got that same summon as a for critical safety to try.
I really like the Alistar pick here. So he goes forward, but they do get onto Velia with the Bessa roll. But he's taking a lot of time. What has happened here? I really didn't think these fights would go so badly. Okay, so even with the Leona ult missing, Nemesis almost just one taps Ashe, but doesn't quite, and that's a big difference. And Baus is here too late. No, that's Kennen teleporting in. It's just split up on both sides, and they lose both sides of it. But like, imagine if he deals like whatever it is, 50 more damage here. Oh no, okay, he needs another E. And then Armut would die as well. Interesting to see a Crowner go Infinity Edge 4th. I noticed playing solo queue that just Collector Infinity Edge, the damage isn't even that big, but you're missing Rapid Fire effect and doesn't have percent pen. So I did the same he does now, but also didn't feel great. Wait, so what's he got? Okay. So no IE. Well, it's level what? Level 16, and Wukong's going to have his passive as well. So if you're mostly just going to be hitting these bruises in the front line, maybe you just need the percent pen. Does the rapid fire make that much difference though if everyone's diving in on you? He always goes LDR before IE on everything. Yeah, but it's the rapid fire as well, right? That was saying. What's your opinion on the best boots of Rise? Wouldn't Mercs be better? I think that Symbiotic Souls are really good. But I do think in this case, like I said, I was expecting Nemesis to build a lot more tanky. Well, a lot more tanky. It wouldn't have gone Rabadons and would have gone different, more tank boots. Because if you can ever not be a like one-shot burst threat, maybe you never reach that point. Maybe you're always burstable. But I think stuff like Mercs would definitely have been something to consider. But they do, because they play a bit differently from everyone else, they do really prioritize the speed. And he still has ult, by the way, Bows. So he's just fucking with them, waiting for it. I love that he goes for another W, by the way, before he even ults. Like here, by the way. So look at Bows is like really low, and he still goes for, like, look how much HP he's got. He's still going for the next W because he just, I don't know if this is true, but I think he just enjoys that moment where someone thinks they can kill him, and he'd rather just extend that moment because he doesn't actually get anything for baiting this. And if he loses another, what is it, 150 HP ish, he would die. But I think he just enjoys the moment. Skeen's thinking he can kill him. You can't explain Valves. You just got to enjoy it. You can't explain it. Okay, so let's look at the back end of this fight. So they do get the kill. They also get Nemesis as well. We already talked about that. Like, if he does a little bit more damage, they're too disconnected, like on two different fights happening at the same time. And again, the peel back from Reckless wasn't quite enough, even though he tanked, I think, the Ash ult this time with the thing. But now you've got a lot less tools. Really nice flash from Crowny. And now, like, you can just, you peel back and you get that first person. And then you just play the back end of this fight really, really slow. And because Bao's just like lost 99% of HP, the Ash, it's really hard. And there's just so many rotations of Bao's spells, which do so much in this kind of stage. Like his W just 850 HP every time he presses W. Shouldn't Bao's... he tried to, didn't he? I think. He tries to stun the cannon on TP, I think. Maybe he misses it. I thought he stuns him and then he insta-goes. Or does he miss it? I think he's trying to, because he goes on to all... if he used W, then it's just really greedy. Like, he has to Q first. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He Qs too late. Yeah. Rapid fire on Jhin is crazy nice if you can make the most of it, since you get a lot of speed from doing the attack. Yeah, I guess also the extra speed is insane against the dive comp. My thinking was, okay, like, you don't need the extra range because they're all diving in on you, but maybe it's the extra speed, in which case... This time we'll say Nemesis. And also kill Dash. But it all works out in the end. Yeah, it's not about winning this game, it's about winning the next game. Because they're like, oh, we can't kill him probably, even though he's on 10 HP, because last time he killed me. It's all the psychological warfare. This composition is well and truly online. As much as the Baus has had a okay, so now they've got and so look, I mean they've been playing this dive really well. And now I still think you need a big Kenanot. Like now Kenanot has to hit multiple people. And that's always going to be hard. But they have been a little bit poor at marking. Okay, what's Nemesis doing here? Oh, so he thinks because people are coming over, he can play for this wave, but he needs to wait. Because they're not, like, right there. And there's so much dive. But on the return, it would have been okay. Like, I think you're just a couple of seconds from being able to step up for this wave. Which, of course, is different between every... like all the different champions, you know, like against not Ambessa and stuff, you can step up for that wave. So that's going to massively slow down the Baron, of course. Oof, Crown is like getting as much of the wave as possible. Much of the next wave possible. If he doesn't have flash, you can just auto him. Yeah. No, I like that. I wasn't thinking about that when I was... thinking about it before, but I think it's really useful. And the same doesn't apply for like Like if you just got a different attack speed and crit item, you don't get quite as much burst of speed, or what? Is it the energizer part? It's just the extra range part, which I think is less useful here. Not useful, but less useful here than in certain games. But either way. Oh no. And this is why I mean, he does absolutely one-shot people if he gets on someone. That's the advantage of this, rather than the more like Doinby type build. Actually, I say that. I don't know what Doinby got this time when he was playing Rise. But he always used to build a lot more tanky, right? Combination of range and speed, which makes it so strong. Yeah, okay, yeah. So you get that first hit when they're further away, or you can start channeling it, and by the time you fired it, they're much closer to you, but you actually still get to fire it, which you might not with a different item. And they're just trying the same thing over and over again. They're just overloading one side and using all their pick tools, and unfortunately it's working multiple times. So despite the fact they're playing against this soul over and over again, they're just throwing their tools on a side and just getting stuff. Like there they didn't get a kill, but they got flash. We just need to be very careful about what waves we're playing for. And LR's natural thing is to play for all the waves that they can, because they want to push it. They want to like be on the edge of getting as much tempo as they possibly can while safe. And they've made a few mistakes with it. But it's also the comp. The waves that you can get while safe is very different if you're not playing against Ashe and Ambessa and Wukong and Leona. Like they're all good at diving on you. Yeah, it could be the dive comp kills him either way. But if he lives long enough to get one rotation off, he might end up doing more damage. I guess the one time they mess up the dive on him, he just murders their entire team. Now, like literally, if he gets like an EQ across everybody now, it's like the team fights won. So if they dive on him and don't kill him with this build, he does just one-shot the whole team. I don't know. To be quite honest, I'm never someone who has enjoyed getting super deep into item builds, other than like weird ones. So in an ideal setup, I'd have a strategic coach kind of person or something like that that would be more into those things. But my gut would have been to be more tanky here, but I have no idea if that's right. Yeah, it depends how tanky he is, and I guess Jhin is lower damage than some AD carries, so to get through their I mean I think he now just murders anyone, right? If they don't one-shot him, it's really tough. So that's why maybe as well why he's staying just really far back. Like if he doesn't get one shot, he murders everyone. Like even Leona with her W on and with Aftershock just gets absolutely chunked by this Rise. So Baus teleports to mid lane. Ambessa pushes it. It goes the other way. It's slightly strange. She can't threaten Baron. She's just waiting, getting Scuttle, clearing out vision around Baron. But now you teleport in? Yeah, she secured Crab. That's true. But you don't want to be with your team, that's for sure. But I think you're a bit far away. Because now you have to firstly use your teleport, get to there. New teleport takes a long time. You don't have a flank anymore because everyone knows where you're coming to. Okay, Kennen and Ambessa TP there. You can see what they're trying. Like Supermassive really want to be coming from multiple different directions, but because of the way the thing has been set up, they just haven't managed to do it. But here, like I don't like Armut being on this objective personally. Like I'd rather him be here or trying to come around this way. And Ambessa, I don't like being that far away. Just come back to here instead. And like, yes, they're going to see you, but like keep threatening on either side. Where does Kennen TP to? They both TP here? To this thing? I mean, it's a nice engage from Skeens because they are quite grouped up onto this Leona when they're trying to follow her. Ash ult hits Crowny as well. Cleanses it. Flash over from Wukong with the Leona ult as well. Nemesis flashes the Ambessa ult, which is massive, but then Kennen hits a huge ult. Yeah, I think at this stage, he doesn't... I mean, they do use a lot of tools on Leona as well. I think they can wait a bit. They can not go on Leona. They can just punt Leona away and keep on the objective. But also that's really hard to call, right? Because if you let Leona just walk in, if you're in the mindset where like we can't ever go on Leona, that's never going to work either. Because she just walks in more and more and buys more and more time and more pressure and all that kind of thing. So you can't do that either. Normally, of course, you would, if you knew everyone, where everyone was and all that kind of thing, then I think you would prefer to be exhausting the Kennen. Wukong doesn't have a shot. He flash E instead of flash QR. Wait, really? He flashes literally next to someone and then he E's. So he flashes over this wall. I thought he just flash hard. Ah, hey, you're right. So then he can't follow up. I think you don't even... I mean, if you can get a Q in as well, that's great. Because now you just E, like you're saying. Like now he's got no tools. And now with the exhaust, that second knockup doesn't even hit. So they kill, but then the rest of the dive comes through. I mean, the TPs work, but for me, I think this works a bit more based on how the rest of the fight went. So Armut does get everyone with the flash proto belt. But Bowson, no. So Nemesis flashes the Ambessa ult, which is really big. If Ambessa ult gets flashed, she often just does nothing in a fight, like here. Okay, now she flashes in and does something. But I still think the Rise just gets one shot a bit too quickly. But you're right. Skeens absolutely can just kill Crowny, I think.
It really did. Armut with the flash into the ulti, exactly what his team needed. Without that, that was going to be a massive team fight for Lost Returners. They would have been.
But this is a couple of team fights that have still not gone well with the Soul. It's a close one. I'm still only in game 2. Okay. But we're having fun. Yeah, I mean, Bowser at this stage is really, really strong. Like, he doesn't get... And this is the thing, is that if Kennen ult doesn't hit both the carries, this is also still really, really hard. Now they're going to get Elder, though. He just doesn't take any damage from doing it. Yeah, I got to stop pausing and talking. But I mean, I'm enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying it. We can take longer, that's fine. So Velia's here by the end. Jhin has the massive force shot. Teleport comes through. Wait, did he just... No, he didn't teleport. He went through the portal. I like his use of the portal, by the way. Because like I said before, if you avoid Ambessa ult, she's much weaker. And of course, yeah, right, someone was knocked up anyway. And actually, as it turns out, the Ambessa ult pushed him onto Alistar, etc. But just coming from a different direction is always a good idea. So they want to fight the Elder. Kennen ult nowhere near as good this time. So now they have managed to kill Crowny, but Nemesis is still alive. I mean, he just gets kited about and then hits one EQ on someone or something, and they just get one shot with the Elder. That's going to be game, right? It's 40 minutes in. Yeah, so as soon as both the carries don't die in the engage, then whichever carry is left just cleans everything up. Okay, big. I thought Rise would go a lot tankier, but We talked about that already, right?
Let's not waste a second because they have a lot to break down here.
Wait, that's game 4. We need game 3. There you go.
To a bit, buds. Watch the full game from EMEA Masters, Winter 2020.
Okay.
Just like we mentioned earlier.
I think they're going to just keep banning Baus, right? In the first 2. But the problem is that now you've done this, you're fully committed to this. Because if you ever change that, then it's like, what was the point in always banning them? Because now he's got a champ late game. You can skip the 3rd game. Okay, I can go quickly through the 3rd game. How about that? Once I see what's going on.
Well, Jace was also open last game, but I felt like
I love
to maybe
game 4 and game 5 in Fearless, man. It's so fun.
in maybe picking the Jace themselves early or
Okay, they get the Vi pick, which for them is a flex as well. Also really, really strong. Zyra's gone as one of the like classic counters, but Nocturne's still up as another counter. Is Rumble gone? You could do Nocturne Rumble. I don't know if any of this, by the way, is shit on this patch now because I haven't looked at the new patch. I'll look at it. Look at the patch that we're playing on. Sivir super early, which isn't normally that good into Vi, right? Because you can smite off the spell shield. It can be good, but you can also smite off the spell shield. Sivir Lulu on 1-2. This is just game 3 as well. Like the thing that's so fun about Fearless is that for a while it was like, okay, we're going to be really normal until games 4 and 5, and then in games 4 and 5 we'll play weird stuff. And then earlier and earlier, people were just playing like quote unquote weird stuff because they just realized it wasn't actually that bad. With Lulu, Vi can't really play. It's very hard, I think. But you, especially with. So this is the thing about Fearless that makes everything weird. Sorry. Is that a bunch of other good dive champs are gone. So if you could play the comp that Supermassive played last time, but with Vi, like so Vi, Ambessa, Kennen, those kind of things, Leona, Ashe, that's miserable to play Lulu into. But now all of those are gone, and it's maybe just Vi in terms of amount of dive. Then it can start being obnoxious. If it's just Vi diving, you just get murdered by Lulu, I think. Like obviously not actually Lulu, but as in like, the Lulu allows the rest of their team to kill you. So it's a Vi flex, of course. But if Vi's the only diver and it's full crit Vi, that's also a tough one. So they know it's Vi flex, and they're going to ban the Jarvan. That's a really good call, for sure. What supports you could have gone? Because you could have already gone Jarvan, but maybe you can't go blind. Jace Gnar. Okay, so I'm assuming that's preparing for either Vital, like those are specific ones that are for some sort of matchup. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me if Jarvan's also a flex. Also, that's buffed. Either this patch or as in like the live patch. So probably not this one. 15.6. Sorry. R25S 1.6 or whatever it is. Jarvan scales were buffed, therefore lane Jarvan. Love it. And we've seen this trade a bunch from LR. But with this combo, it's not the Nocturne. It's not the Nocturne Ori, but it's that same Xin Ori combo where you E-flash as you're ulting and it's impossible to dodge unless you're preemptively flashing it. Armor, big Gnar Jace player. Yeah, exactly. We spoke about this before. Armor's expanded his champion pool. It used to be Gentleman Gnar or Snow Day Gnar or like now it's much bigger. Actually, Gnar was his like 4th or 5th most played this year. Wild. But Gnar also is just super good in this kind of stage of the game. Okay. So it's blind Galio top. I think that's tough. I think the composition for Supermassive is much easier. It's just the Sivir comp again. You just group up and they're donezo. Especially with the ball delivery system with Xin. Xin with Lulu is really strong as well. There was that time where Lulu was a solo laner and Xin Lulu combination had like a Xin plus Lulu in a solo lane had like a 90% win rate in competitive for like 2 months or something. What do you think about just tanking Vitop and giving Velia another jungle here? The other thing is if they do have another flex that they can do in between the two, that then means you're not blinding top. I think Galio blind seems really tough. I would have been very nervous if it was like Vayne or something. Vitop with a Mumu or Zac jungle. I mean, if you take a Mumu, it's double flex, no? He's played a Mumu top into us. I don't know if it's any good, especially without lane swaps. But the question is just like, okay, Vitop. For me, the thing about like blinding something quote unquote weird in top is I would be a little bit more comfortable if it's like more weird. Like full damage Vi is super weird. It's like the Volibear thing, right? But Galio is like much more common pick and much less like cheesy. And so people are much more practiced against it. So I would say you do have an advantage playing. Oh no, I was saying like it's not so cheesy, but it sounds like he did something cheesy. Yeah, you can predict like if Cassante is a miserable matchup, then it's a very good pick for them. And maybe the comp is too hard if you take like Vayne or something in top lane. But I do also think Galio gets absolutely murdered all game. Or you take Tristana top or something. Denies it for them from them later in the series, but I guess with Maokai gone, it's less of a threat. Okay, I'll let the beginning of the game go. I'm just going to quickly run to the toilet. I will be 1 minute and I'm back.
But you know, we're kept in separate rooms because of this reason, so there will be thrown at this point. But there will certainly be fists thrown on the Rift right now. This is a pivotal middle series game. LR, let's be honest, they just about held off in the last game. They turned it around, they clutched it when they needed to. But Supermassive, on balance, have looked like the stronger team so far.
Yeah, I think they've just looked like they've been able to get around the map a little bit more. They've been good at exploiting bouts when needed, but not overcommitting to trying to get on top of him at all times. It's been a very impressive matchup from Supermassive, and I like what they've got themselves in this drop. This is a very standard front-to-back team fight composition, and we were talking about it in the room, right, Dragon? This Lulu might be the thing that undoes Los Ratones. It looks great into so many of the champions that Los Ratones are trying to play around.
Yeah, it is a pretty nice pick. We saw prioritize heavily for Supermassive slamming the Super Lulu very long in the draft. The answer, of course, is the classic reckless Janna, which we love to see every single time. So we have an Enchantress we rarely see on both sides of the Rain versus another matchup in the support department. I'll be honest, Pastor as a I'm a little worried about the
Okay. No crazy shenanigans yet. Yeah, exactly. It's much more common to have played against top Galio than against. Oh, he still goes. It just doesn't like Doran's items. Why does he not like Doran's items at all? Okay. Don't really know this bot lane either. We played very few enchanters this split. He wants to be 100% gold efficient, no Doran's low pots ever. Yeah, or just a refillable, right? And then you just... Oof. Like, it's strange, right? I don't know how much stuff like Sivir would even been played if it hadn't been for Fearless, and yet now it's being game 3 picked and just seems like 1-2 and seems really good. Baus doesn't like selling items as a waste of gold. It doesn't really buy pinks either. Yeah, it doesn't like potions, likes refillable. Is this actually true? He's yet to buy a pink ward in pro play. I think it's good to be gold efficient, but there is absolutely a limit, and that's a nightmare. Wait, what was the next kill? We missed. Okay, right. So Xin just flashes over. Early fights against Vi really, really strong, especially when you got red buff versus blue. And Lulu's there first. So it's first blood. At least Lulu gets it rather than Xin, but you're going to lose 2 camps as well because of this push in bot lane. And it's kind of miserable if you're Velia in this game. Like you get pushed in every lane, and you lose the jungle matchup. So where do you go? It's not as bad as it used to be, but when the minion waves were desynced to have enemy has prio in every lane. But it's still hard, and I think unless you do a weird jungle path, This is why he doesn't just do red. He wards it, and then, well, one of the reasons why he doesn't just do red. But if you went top lane instead, you would also be invaded, and Cassante would be there. He bought one pink ward. I wonder who that was against. Was that against us? What was the big pink ward game? Was that the Quinn game where he's like, now I can't do anything, I might as well just buy a pink ward finally? Probably not. It's a bad draft then, no? I would much rather be Supermassive in this game, that's for sure. I'm not a big fan of the Syndra versus Ori plus someone who can insta-ball deliver the like, so in this case it's Sin, but it can also be Nocturne. I'm really not a fan of the blind Galio top lane. Although it is kind of good against it's not even that good against the comp, I think. It's because it's not like full dive, it's like run at you. So I think this one is sort of, maybe not 60-40, but I'd much rather be Supermassive. That was against Nightbirds, okay. You'll hate it more when you see the build. I mean, so far, even just okay, yeah, sure, you got a more efficient item in your ring, but you also died 1v1, so surely you lost all of the efficiency that you, compared to the opponent, that you would have had for the Dorans. I'm not quite sure where the logic comes from that, other than I guess he says, like, well, if I played it perfectly, like, I wouldn't die, which is true. He lost the 1v1, so he has to buy a Dorans. I love that. There was a story in the original Griffin roster, like when they were in Academy. So this is like absolutely insane roster. The Hens, Chovy, Viper. I was going to say Sword. Tarzan. At least 4 of them are absolutely insane. And the story was that when CV Max, their coach, first met them, he walked into the gaming house and said, I'm better than all of you at League. He 1v1'd all of them and beat all of them. And then he said, I know more about League than you. And then they asked him questions for 2 hours and he defeated all of them in a battle of wits. And that's why then he like proved himself as a coach. I just love that idea, except from instead of that, it's like, if I beat you, please buy a pink ward. I think it's perfect. Giga Chad, but also like, if you're so fucking good, why don't you play then? Right, let me look. Okay, so it would be the trade, but because you've got massive prio in top lane, you can actually go down to try and stop the Vi. But this ult is a bit... Yeah, I don't know if it's true. I mean, one of the players said it. I can't remember who, like Chovy or someone said it in an interview. Said that's what happened, so... It wasn't like CV Max bragging about it. Actually, it might have been that too. Yeah, 1v1 tournament. Not, yeah, except from the problem with me is I don't really play League. Like, I only play like with friends for fun. So I would just be like, I will 1v1 all of you, and I would lose to every single one. And then be like, ha, this shows you that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it shows you. But still, please listen to me. That's how the end of the that's how the end of the story would go. Yeah, I'd be like, well, I'm so mentally strong that I still think you should listen to me, and that's why you should. Pick something random. Oh, okay. Not bad, not bad. Crowny just greedily staying. It's not, and it's not even a flash, like it's a flash trade. But this is just 2v3. Never let the truth ruin a good story. Like that. Occasional beat value in 1v1 as well. Ooh. Okay, I mean, they're just kind of getting run down everywhere already before it's like group up and run you down kind of time.
hasn't had some good looks, and especially once we get into these team fights, that's when he really begins to pop off. Just hasn't been able to have that same level of
Sorry, just replying to a message about what we're doing for coaching for next split. Okay. Sorry, too many messages. Let them all play a champion they're not comfortable at while you play one you know, and what you teach them is it's important to know what you're good at. But also, like I said, I played some games yesterday. I played full AP Tom Kench mid, and I played Lethality Jarvan mid. And what else did I play? It's that kind of stuff. And I don't play that much. Doesn't he just say he likes refill pot and also on sign never buys Dorans because plans to die? Yeah, I mean, he does play like for all the like gold efficient stuff, right? So refill is more efficient than buying pots. Dorans aren't efficient because you'll have to sell them later. But I would argue getting solo killed when you have a ring and they have what's even cool? Sorry, you don't have a Dorans and they have a Dorans. Kind of gets rid of your. Yeah, that's the thing with runes. It's so funny. Every scrim, everyone takes flat health and not scaling runes like Scorch and not Gathering Storm, and then every competitive game, it's Gathering Storm double health scaling. Yeah, like full scaling runes for competitive, full early game runes for scrims. It's the tech. And it's going to be a trade, as before. Okay, I thought this game was going to be much more disastrous. They TP to get the pick, but he also gets back out on the map, so it's okay. Swifty's Proto Belt, or is it... what's the other move speed one? This is what we're saying. Like, now, without Galio, it's just Vi diving, and just Vi diving against Lulu is always going to be really miserable because it can just get turned around so quick. And so I think you can't take Vi and then like Janna and stuff like that. Cosmic, yeah, that's it. AP Tom Kench sounds like a poke mage. AP Tom Kench is the funnest build that I've ever done. I mostly do weird, stupid builds, and it's so fun because, firstly, you do have a hilarious amount of poke, and it just makes me laugh every time when you Q someone and they lose like half their HP, and like one Q procs Storm Surge and stuff like that. But also W is hilarious as an engage tool because it has a ridiculous AP scale, and so against a lot of wait, what? Sorry, just my delivery things. Sorry, against a lot of champions, if your W hits them, you can just like one-shot them. But if your W misses, you die instantly. So it's so fun. It's just hilarious fun. It's not good, but it's so funny. What are your strengths as a coach, in your opinion? I think my strengths as a coach are around like the performance processes of the team. I think in an ideal world, I wouldn't be a coach in the same way that a lot of Western coaches are. I would be more of a coach in the way that like a Korean head coach is, or in some sport they would call it head of performance. In some sport it is what the coach is because you've got a lot more coaches like working with you. So for me, I'd rather be focusing on like the longer term, building up our processes so that we can continue to get better and better over time. I think in general, I'm fairly good with people. I think my like the micro and stuff like that has never been something that's that interesting to me. So those are the things that I'm always going to be like a bit weaker at. I'm also not very... I'm okay with confrontation and okay with having teams that aren't like super polite to each other and that kind of thing. But I think I'm sometimes I should push my own way of things a little bit more, but I do like it coming from the players. Like I'm very naturally, I would call it horizontal, like horizontal and vertical. As a coach, I'm very naturally horizontal. So for me, like ideal situation, infinite money. I would work with me, and then I would have 5 different coaches who do an individual role each, and also a couple of other processes with the team. I actually pitched that to some LEC teams I was talking to at the beginning of this year. We shouldn't actually necessarily need infinite money because coaches are much cheaper. That you could do that and get like A-tier players much cheaper than you could just get like the players that everyone's hyped about. But yeah, that would be my own thinking of my strengths as a coach. Oh, it's a nightmare. Oh my god. Oh my god. So this is the matchup that you knew was coming and you opted into, apparently, right? Like if they knew it was going to be Cassante into Galio. Because Cassante is also good for their comp. Because if you can just run at people with Cassante, you can either like run at people and you go with the Zin, or you want to play it like front to back, and obviously not this comp, but like you could play, if he functions in both, that's what I'm trying to say. Whereas this Vi, for me, is not that good here because you've got no one really like coming in with you because this Galio is full AP. Makes sense. Do you think the meta in coaching is being smart about the game itself? Definitely smart about the game, because we have such a short-term view on so many things, and a lot of the people who are in positions to be hiring coaches and things like that don't have any experience of high performance themselves. I think the role that we're weakest at in the West is the like head of LOL type thing, which is what I want to do. The person who like hires the coaches and hopefully works with and supports the coaches, but that almost never happens. The idea that you could actually help your coaches seems like something that we just never really think about, even at the top level, other than a very few specific people. And so the meta as a coach is to be unbelievably confident in your opinions and act like, well, do the CV Max thing and walk in and say like, I know more about the game than all of you. I'm always right about the game, and that's why you should listen to me. But for me, I would never want to position my value to a team as I'm useful to you as a coach because I know everything about the game, because it doesn't matter who you are, you don't know everything about the game. There's no chance. And so that's where people even like LS can struggle with rosters and stuff like that, I think, because if you position, so it's what Jocko Link calls leadership capital. If you say like, obviously you don't literally say this, but if in your actions you're saying to people like, the reason you should listen to me is because I know everything about the game, you don't. But also, if you ever want to work with the best players, it's about exploring new boundaries, and so no one knows. And if you ever work with a player for like 2 years and you've still got loads of shit to teach him about the game that you know and he doesn't know, then something's gone horribly wrong. So it's never a good long-term thing. But because especially in ERLs, you just bounce around, that's the meta for coaching for sure. Because it's the thing that gets you the next job, and it's the thing that then, like, people just get like, they just fail upwards so often, you know, like they get removed from this team and then join the next team, and then removed from that team and join the next team, and eventually end up in the LEC. You know, it's like, it's really strange because that's an obvious thing that you don't need knowledge about coaching and high performance to judge. If someone's really confident about the game and they can convince you in an interview about their way of seeing the game, then you're like, okay, well, players will respond to that. And some players will, in the short term, respond to that really well. But the higher up you go, the less it becomes like that. But I think it's changing. Like, you're seeing people like Mac or like Raya or like, I mean, Dylan, they all know a lot about the game as well. But they're also really good with people. And then they surround themselves with people who are more like in the details of the game. And that's what we're starting to see like pay off a lot, which is great. It's great news that kind of thing is happening more and more. Hey, I don't know if that name is supposed to be not alpha, but I don't want to insult you if that's not supposed to be the name. But yeah, I'm having a good day. I'm enjoying the watch party is a better thing to call it, because this has not been a review, but I'm having fun and it's been a good series so far, even though I've somehow managed to do it so slowly. Oof. This is really good. This fight goes really well. What is going? The coach who is like, I know more about the game than you, would probably not even work with Nord because they're all old. Well, also, like, if you have players like last split, like Santorin and Treats, if I'm like positioning myself as I know more about the game than you, it's like, well, why haven't you got 4 LCS titles then? So it's never going to work. I mean, the thing for me is, like, I'm not in the game. I've never won a competitive game of League of Legends. I've played actually a few. Actually, that might not be true that I might have won one of them, but only as a sub when people like had to, like, someone was sick at one point, someone's internet broke at one point. I don't play. Like, when the game starts, they have to run it. So I much prefer the stuff to come from them. The way that I would phrase it is, like, I want the knowledge to come from them, and then I build a process around it, or like a system around it. So how do we want to approach dragons, for example? I don't really want to be in a position where I come in and say, this is how we approach dragons. Even though I could do that, but what I would be doing really is I would be saying, like, this is what my last team did. Whereas what I want is I want to ask the right questions to get it from them, to then build that structure so that the next time it's like, okay, we said we would do this. We said we would always place this bridge ward, or we said we would always focus wave first, then objective after team fights. Those are some of our, like, rules or processes from the last split. So wait, I'll look at this fight and then I'll look at that question again. No, but I really want to. I'm a big Tabo fan. I've loved watching his teams play, so I really want to. I really want to watch it. It's on my list of a bunch of too many things that I need to watch, but I think I might bump it up. I said I wasn't going to look at chat and I was going to look at the team fight, and then I read the chat. I'm so bad at streaming, guys. Okay, so really nice stun, followed up by really nice ult. And that is when he's there to help a little bit with the dive, but he's so squishy. So this 4v5 that they then play well does go well. Oh no, they still do straight. Why Supermassive opting into this so heavily as a 4v5? So they can start this okay, I guess. Although I wouldn't rush it. Like, I wouldn't be... Was Syndra dead or something? Okay, so they get Herald. So it's... Okay, then they kill Crowny. So they have Herald, so always... But now you're just doing, like, the next play into the next play into the next play. Like, Civi's got no mana. I don't think you need to start this. Okay, it's not 4v5. I'm just blind. It's 4v4. So this is why they're starting it. Okay. Nice. And that's why they do have to play it really well. But 2 insanely big stuns from Nemesis. Yeah, lost Drake. All the kills went to Janna, and you lost tower top. 2 towers top. Including an inner tower. So not good for gold, not good for even total gold. Janna getting kills is better than if it's like Leona or something. There's 10 stack Medjay's on my screen. But you're right. Yeah, it took me 2 times watching that because I'm literally that far out of the game and more into the chat. It took me 2 times watching that to realise that Crowny was still dead. It's wild. 3k and Syndra. So the comp, I think, is still really hard to play. Because I think it's difficult to actually dive on with someone with the Vi. because you just got this Galio who might also just be instantly one shot, and Vi also is not in a good spot in the game. And then you are always in danger of them just grouping up and pressing R and running at someone. But when you guys said like, oh no, game 3, I thought it was going to be like a blowout, you know? I thought it was going to be like the KCB game 2 or whatever it was, or even worse. This is like suboptimal. This is not like a nightmare.
Yeah, if you're trying to start a play Supermassive, you're really relying on, I mean, I guess Carry flash ulting in to get knocked up is one way to do it.
Massive lightning.
Yeah,
it's
he's getting that dash in, and Oriana kind of looking at sub-semi knocks on Oriana combo. There's much less range and no paranoia on the top of it. It's not easy for Supermassive to play start if they want to. Whereas, as you said, Lost Ratones, they've got Divide, they've got Bounce coming in for a flank.
So 115 on the next dragon.
They have a small lead ahead of them. And when it comes down to
Not going to be. It's going to be just sole point, even if you had to give this up. Side lane is still going horribly, and no one else can match Cassante either. And now Nemesis is just going to get run down, maybe. No, nice done. But that's always going to be a danger, and if Sivir was there, I think he has to both flash, right? But with the Sivir off, I don't think he'd be that far off if Sivir was off, but still. So just on all the waves, like every wave you have to be scared of them just running on you, which means you can't catch it as high as you might want, all those kind of things.
one of the best bits about the Runesatican, even the Drake souls that you're not as excited for become something you really would like to be able to pick up for yourselves. Resets just came through, Armut TP's in, Fiesta walking back from lane, and everybody spent their gold ready to go. This could be the pivotal team fight right here, and everybody's got all their tools available.
starting it up, the rest of Supermassive pretty compressed in that middle.
So Baus on the flank, but again, he's so in danger of being just one shot. Another big stun. Okay, and this is what I was talking about, where you can just so is the two things I was talking about at the same time. So firstly, Sivir. Okay, so it's also the Lulu ults herself. So the stun hits 2, which is nice, but you just smite off the spell shield or get rid of the spell shield, and then you can still knock up the Sivir. But even without Lulu ult, like there's just not enough follow up here with the Vi, so the Vi just feels real bad because now Vi just dies anyway. And then on the other side of the fight, while that happens, Crowny's jumping over and just gets jumped on by everybody and just gets murdered on this side, and Cassante takes way more time to die, and it's just really hard. So the game state isn't that bad if you don't look at the champions, but I think it's very... The only way I'd feel good about this draft is if they had a massive lead, and it's not because the comp, like, in general, needs to have a massive lead or anything. As in, it's not like the champions need to have a massive lead. It's because the comp, I think, is just not as good. It's really hard for Vi to provide any pressure, really. She ults in and just becomes a free target. And this Galio, because it's just one-tapped, unless you get a massive flank with like a Galio taunt on people coming out of a bush or something like that, unless you get a huge flank, it's, I think, hard to do pressure, to have a lot of pressure. It's not a big follow-up to the Vi. Like, I don't know, we were talking about flexes before, like if you put Vi top and you play Nocturne jungle, I don't know what the matchup is like into Xin, it's probably also not that good. Or a Mumu, like you were saying, like then you've got a Mumu and Vi diving, that's much better. Because the problem is that they'll just run at you, and if you try and dive on their carries to stop them, you end up just being like a free target. Okay, ult misses. And then that's not better, you know. You just get killed for free. And always this pressure on side is going to be bad. Yuumi support can jump on Zeri and buy it. Yeah, I think Yuumi could have been a really good shout. I think if you've got 3 picks as well, you could also take the Jarvan, especially if you can double flex both. Jarvan on 3, if you have 3 picks into Lulu, which would be what? Janna, Yuumi, maybe that's hard already. Milio. It's not that much CC, but it's really obnoxious to play Xin into something like that. Yeah, Nocturne top. I see that they saw that they were flexing that as well. Nidalee is hard here because if the enemy groups up and runs, they're so fast and you don't have enough disengage, I think. And it would be Vitop if it was Nidalee, right? So I think this Vitop at this stage, when there's that many dive champs gone, is already not as big a first pick as it used to be if you don't play the other ones. You know, if you don't play stuff like Rumble, that would also still be up and involved, and you don't play loads of the melee supports, even though some of them are gone. Because if this is, again, you wouldn't do this as Lost Ratones, but if this is like Rumble top and, well, even still with Janna, already that's better for me. Like already that's so much better because you Vi ult the Sivir and then with the Rumble ult as well, now Vi is a massive threat onto the backline. But you could also, again, with in a different team, you would also take other stuff. Like maybe you take a melee support. Oh, that's a really nice thought. How does he manage to get that? So they clear this pink ward and then he just gets, okay, they move the pink ward and he just gets out of vision. That's really nice. So they get a huge chunk onto Skeens, which is massive. They get his ult. Okay. And then 2 of them get ulted. And they want to just push, they're trying to push on the next wave and just like pressure them away. But they go a little bit too far. And then who is it even who does get ulted? So this is really good now. They can push out mid wave, get this tower, come around and really like clear out all the Baron vision for sure. But then Velia and Baus both get hit. Okay, but Reckless ult resets everyone really well, but Velia gets pulled across. And now he's just, yeah.
And the jungler still goes down. Somehow Skeens is the one walking away, and Lost Ratones are left scrabbling for a kill.
They get the inner tower does die.
Is in a 1v1 versus the Rift Scuffler. It is insane. And you still end up on top with the kill. Velia just going a little bit too deep. You can see 6 deaths right now. It's just too many deaths on this fight. I mean, not even necessarily trading all of these.
Or this is where you slam another tank top if he did play tanks, you know. Play Ornn or something here. But I'm not saying they should play Ornn. I'm saying the problem with them first picking Vi this stage of Fearless is that they don't have that much dive champs that can go along with it. And so either the Vi becomes completely homeless and you play like full, I don't know, full poke or split push somehow, or you're in this situation where I think it's maybe not so good, or you do weird stuff like flex it top, you tank whatever matchup it is with blind Vi top, and you take another dive champ in jungle instead. Yeah, so they just rush and someone gets... Some of these, I mean, already, some of these Orioles have been insane. Some of them have been a bit... Like, Nemesis has walked out of like 3 or 4 Orioles. Skeens jumps in and ends up having to just waste heal a little bit. But he pushes Baus away. Sivir poke does so much. Yeah. You could take Galio mid and take Nocturne as well, if you can double flex both. But the downside of double flexing champs like that, although it's kind of good, is that my guess is, I don't know, because I don't know either of these players top lane, is that they probably, like, they're both, I think, bad into Xin in jungle. That might be wrong. They also both might be, like, if they're both bad into the same champs, then like the flex doesn't matter that much. But it does give you the extra dive, for sure. And now you've got Soul, and this is where the Atakan buff is like so annoying. This Soul plus an extra 25% is just super obnoxious, and it just makes everything so hard to calculate. You think you kill people and you don't, over and over again. Yeah, he's really fast, but my Nemesis is really fast, but the whole point of taking the Xin is to have the ball delivery system, right, where you E on someone and then you ult. But they haven't done that very much. They're like us. we take Nocturne Ori, and then we perma not ult on Nocturne. The next game is tomorrow, and enemy top has 100% rumble. Should LR prior pick Vi and Baus shout J4 tank? Galio is really good into rumble in top lane. So as long as Galio is up, I think you can let them play rumble. Maybe not let. I mean, rumble's really, really strong, obviously. The matchup's good early and okay later, but the Galio ult is really good into the rumble ult, and rumble teams often want to dive, and then Galio. Yeah, it's been spoiled already, right? And again, I think I can tell. I don't think you'll be here watching and enjoying it if you didn't win in the end. So it's all okay. But again, this is so much less of a wipeout than I was expecting, both based on the draft and also on the comments. I think at all stages this game was never like in Lost Ratones' favor, even just from draft till now. But it wasn't super one-sided. The later the game goes, you still get a pick, a mistake becomes even more important. It does feel really, really unplayable because, like I said, it's also this Chemtech Soul buffed up by 20%, 25% is just so like... It's just so hard to get that kill, that like Vi is not killing anyone anymore, for sure. She never was, I think, but especially now. Stopwatch for all the Syndra ult. Now, Crowny still has no flash. Xin has flash, so if they want, they can also just force it like that. Just like E-flash and ult. Still, Supermassive in control of this one, most certainly. About 5,000 gold in the lead. We've got 2.5 minutes until the Elder pops up, and the Elder steal take? Not even sure what it was.
Marginally ahead, looking for that next item completion. It must be said, though, the Crowny is the one with 4 items deep, now has the Infinity Edge, so if he gets some chance to open up the auto attacks of the... Okay, I'm going to skip forward a bit because I've realized this is just game 3, and I think there might be more. Okay. My guess is Jack Show is not super efficient as your only tank item because it's percent extra armor and MR. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I'd rather like Aegis or something if you want something with both. Would it ever be worth getting Serpents for LR? You don't really have anyone who can get it. That's the problem. If Vi gets it, she's already kind of useless. And if she gets it, she's completely useless, I think. And Zeri just needs to do as much damage as possible. I think you can't afford to not get crit items. I don't think this build is very good. But who knows? If Doran's is too inefficient, wouldn't Jack Show as your only defensive item also be too inefficient? Do you really have that many resists just from passives, like passive scaling? Okay, so 1-2. I'm going to need to go again for a second. Game 4. Okay, there is a game 5 as well. So I need to message a few people because I'm going to be a bit later than before.
I mean, we've seen like a lot of adaptation actually from like the first few bands that we've seen in the series. It's actually for the first time in this series that Ivern remains open. Ivern is open. The tree.
Thanks. Okay, wait. I was just messaging you.
Now on the side of Lost Ratones after being but still the first pick remains the Rel. And I think I actually like it because we're at the point.
Yeah, sure. That works. We do it over message, but that works. I'm gonna quickly be right back, and then I will.
So them leaving it open again is
answer
really a good chance in securing maybe also the best support on this patch.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this draft to see how they want to approach as well from Lost Ratones. But yes, because yes, the Ivern is open, but I also feel like there's just this really big bait card being set up by Supermassive. Like, yeah, we will leave it open for you. Just pick it. We dare you. And now that the second rotation has been over and there is a flex pick being used in the Tristana, there's now also the opportunity for Supermassive to say, like, we pick up the Ivern ourselves. So there are so many mind games that play this far into the series. It's going to be a Gwen.
That's super
Okay.
interesting. I mean, it's also somewhat
Oh
flexible.
my.
Oh my god. That's so
Sure.
quick. There's so many picks that normally would have been banned like in the second rotation that are just getting pumped out by Supermassive. And we now already have split push in the Yoni and the Gwen. Both extreme illegal late game play. We already have engaged.
And now I feel like we come back to this point.
Yeah,
But
they
what
came
do
with
the
it.
They want to keep on throwing tempo on gameplay because instead of maybe
Okay. Wow. Okay. Already it's a draft one.
This is going to be a banger no matter what.
Okay. So Rel first pick.
Direction we're actually going.
Love Fearless, game 4. Into Braum, Triss can flex, of course. Gwen flex as well, like jungle and top, I'm assuming. And Yone mid, so side lanes are going to be an absolute horror. Not horror, but like it's such a threat. But Triss, if Triss is mid, that I think can actually match with Yone. Like you don't get pushed around that much in side lanes. So double AD carry ban from the side of LR. So now you're getting triple. Now you're banning triple top tank. So 4 top lane bans. Now we probably. I think you have to show the flex here. Yeah, there you go. I think Xayah's really good here though, because double you're double. Okay, now you take something range. I was going to say like you're double people, like triple people who want to dive, and yeah, Puppy also like 4 top lane bans. You really need to get something going. I think this should just be Xayah. I think the Xayah ban would be really good. Okay, and it is going to be blind Gwen. Well, not yeah, blind Gwen top and jungle. Jungle Viego. Okay, it's the Kayn. Kayn is insane here, though, right? Against 4 melee. I don't know. Have you guys seen him play it in scrims? Like it's red Kayn, I'm assuming. It's quad melee.
There's only one thing they truly want. All of them, they just want to fight. I mean, that's what almost all these champs are good at. Maybe except Ziggs, who just goes around and whatever happened. Ratones with Supermassive, and it was the match point. What do you feel like? Which team took the best?
I mean, so far, I heard every team that I voted for. So, I mean, I probably would like to just say nothing, but I think...
Hey, Chachi. How's it going?
I have done my research. I have seen the great.
You just came in for the. I don't know if you saw this game, but you've all just came in for game 4. This is a watch party, not a review, because I get too distracted by the chat. So we were just talking about. I think if we jump, let's jump back to the draft a little bit, because if I just changed the timing of what I was going to do after. Chachi said that you would leak the new roster. Yeah, it's always the chat's fault. That's very simple. Okay, wait. Let me find out when is the roster being announced, and I will pretend that I'm leaking it as they announce it. It's going to be today, by the way. I'll see if I can. If I stall this enough, I'll be on stream by the time it announces. Grey Kayn. Okay, so the pivot to something like Ziggs, I don't think it really gives you a huge range threat, though. I mean, maybe it does, but like it's not going to make it so that Lost Ratones have to engage on you. In which case, I think this Xayah is just a super insanely good pick here on 4. Because the enemy has to come on to you. Yeah, it's being announced today. I did confirm it. Yeah, exactly. Have you seen this game? Do you want to jump on Discord? I don't know if you're sticking around or not. Yeah, I really. This is wild. Like when it's first pick Rel into instant Braum. I like the Braum. I like the Trist early, and I like the Nidalee on 3. It's an end only. Okay.
So, I mean, I probably would like to just say nothing, but I think Lost Ratones will win this.
Okay, so we're going to the best of 5.
Okay. All right, no worries.
I have a gold mine.
Okay. Thanks.
Sometimes I feel like I'm immune to weird stuff.
It's going to be a banger game already. I do think Red Kane, by the way, is insanely good here. Like 4 melee on the enemy team and just Ziggs as the ranged. So they don't have like, I don't think they have good ways to really kill you. And if, okay, he doesn't even buy a pot like you guys said. Yeah. Okay, that's sufficient. If he dies because he doesn't have a pot, I don't think it's worth saving the 50 gold. Then they have this Braum threat always. Anytime you've got Braum, the late invade is insanely strong. Failure or Dandom. I don't know what that is. Unfortunate. I don't know what Dandom is. Yeah, Bowser's panic during the draft first time running. Oof. No, I like the Kane here. It feels like I don't know if the matchup is horrible, but I feel like if there's a game for Kane, it's something like this. You will leak it like you leak LR's weaknesses on YouTube. And after that, it lost all their scrim locks. Actually, our scrim results were really good at the end. It was just our competitive result in the final. That was the only part that we were missing. Okay, he needs form and he's fine. Yeah, because you also can get like... Oh, I don't know what he builds as well. But it feels like Kane can be a monster in a game like this. But this is based on... We played against them playing Kane once and it went horribly wrong, I think. And that's it. Okay, insta flash from Crowny. I don't know how this has gone that bad. I mean, okay, Zaya's really bad into range, stuff like this. Oh, not quite. Counterpick Casante with Kane. Okay. So it's like you want a super low damage lane, is that what? No, thanks everyone for the follows. Okay. I still think, okay, he's got the cull. Yeah, he died, but he got the wave. He got the proxy. I do think stuff like Gwen can be quite good into all of Baus's champs. But you're going Gwen and I still think he's going to be useful on stuff like Sion, right? So, but you're doing quad top ban into blind pick Gwen early on, I guess. So now he pulls the wave, it crashes at least. So now he can come back to top lane and pick up the next wave. I mean, he's not in a good spot, but if he's just playing for form, like you mentioned, then like losing as little as possible. Renekton also is really good in this game, by the way, but I think first time Renekton in game 4 is quite that's quite bold. Okay. Still, decent spot at the beginning of the game. Reckless with the free time to roam to mid. They help him crash in. Okay. And it's just going to be the trade like always. And like we've spoken about before, like LR have switched to like high prioring their dragons. Yes, you play for the second grubs just to stop them stacking, but if they both die at the same time, they're not going to like respawn, right? So
we've been taking a tour look at everybody on this matchup. I think the final thing to talk about is the fact that Carry gets the Rel, one of the strongest supports in the entire game at the moment. It's one of those ones that you usually see pick up very early on in these fearless pickups, because you really don't want to give it over to your opponents.
So there's going to be a minute in between, or almost a minute. So you do get a chance to play for these topside grubs to stop them getting 6 before you then go towards bot lane. They use the heal to get the movement speed to get in range. And because they're walking really far forward because they know Skeens is coming down, but he's not there right at that time. Okay, well that's... Oh, the flash forward! And he gets 6. Okay, right, this is really insane. Okay, so Crowny... Yeah, so they get the mark, and he flashes forward to then get the kill and also get the 6. And yeah, Reckless dies, but this is such a good skirmish for bot lane and puts them in such a good position.
Crowley, even after he loses out onto his summoners early on, doesn't matter, gets back into this lane with a
Big.
and is able to pick up a couple of kills. And that's what we were asking for as well from Velia. Steps up, makes the plays, and it seems like the bottom side.
So he's still going to build like full damage Kane, I'm assuming.
What's happening top lane?
Yeah, the middle work comes back, and Barrels just kind of gets
Right?
pushed up. That's
Oh,
the
thanks, thanks everyone for the follow. Sorry, I'm not going to do everyone's names.
influence in Sup's victory.
Maybe I should. Should do it, but the game is on.
This is pretty scary for me. You can see it in the gold graph. The only one ahead.
So he's still going to just build
He is pulling himself
like
up.
okay. So Kane is behind.
The best player in
Right,
the
but
series.
maybe it's just the lane is too bad.
His team in a massive way. The TCL, all their hopes were like
I still think if Kane can ever be like a champion in this game, he's going to be so valuable. But the thing is that if you fall that far behind,
early kills is great. You do very much need them in this game for Supermassive.
so when he gets form,
Brilliant too. I mean, the later into the game you get, Bow's just going to begin munching through
I don't know.
crowds. We've all seen a Yone who doesn't do so good early on and just takes over the game once you get those 3 items available. This composition doesn't have to rush things right now. And Supermassive, they seem to know that they're playing this one out with good aggression where they have it, but they just need to protect their bot lane a little bit.
yeah, I think it can be.
Over to Velia and Crowley is definitely one of the ways they can lose this one.
Didn't quite get the block on the ult, so also gets a load of poke damage on Crowny. So and this lane is like hard for Xayah, but because of that skirmish going so well, again, the Xayah is also going to be really good in this draft. I think Ziggs is bad, but everything else is like really good. What is Viego doing during all these Nidalee ganks? Dying and trying to proxy. So, I mean, he's 20 CS down. Now he's TPing bot. No. Oh, Crowny TP bot. I didn't even see he had it.
There we go. This is what we've been hoping to see from the bot lane of Los Ratones.
But this is what they need to do. Like, okay, sorry, but top is lava. Like, you can't help top lane.
The fact that the kills are actually going where you want them to.
You have to just leave it. You can keep swapping into it. So now they're swapping for the grubs, and they might, maybe not, but they might even have time to play for the grubs and then still play for the next dragon. And the swaps are good because, like we were saying before, if you don't have lane matchups that you like, so before it was the early Kennen into Volibear, swapping back and forward is actually really good for you because you just clear the wave and then run and clear the wave and then run, and you don't ever like lane against them like 1v1. Baus is a champ soon. Is he a champ as soon as he gets form, or is he a champ when he gets like an item or something like that? They got one grub.
And the fact that they're actually going to just be able to bully out right now and pick up all 6.
Did they get one grub?
That is a big advantage for
Where are the
Supermassive
grubs?
right now, and there was no
Okay, they didn't get any grubs.
are spawning.
Okay, so this is bad, and this is so Armor gets the wave, and also he's massive, right? He's 2-0.
Same with Velia.
He's 2-0, and of course he's high level because he's solo lane. Then even Crowny, who's also fed.
Gwen, another slippery champion. Gwen is immune, and all of the dashes counted in, but it does at least
And then because they've got push in bot lane as well,
Reckless get triple kills and deal big damage on Janna. This is what you want.
this here is a problem. So how is Crowny in mid lane and
Pressure is massive
loses prio,
in a big way. Same with Velia. We'll continue monitoring their progress.
which means they can't play for the grubs.
Are spawning. I'm getting Jock right here. He's pretty safe. Gwen, another slippery champion. Gwen is immune, and all of the dashes.
And so now Crowny's taking Raptors instead, but that means they lose prio on this wave, which means that they can't contest the grubs. Like I think if they just kept prio on mid wave, and if that needs Reckless instead, like if Reckless comes through mid here instead, and Nidalee goes through top, and they can hold the push, they can get the push on this wave and the push on this wave. I mean, the push on this wave doesn't matter really because there's not any of your wave because it's been proxied. But if you can clear this and get the push on this next mid wave, then you can't stop them on grubs. But I think they overcommit resources to this top side. And instead, Crowny has to just leave the mid wave because he's scared about getting collapsed on or getting instant engaged on because he doesn't have ult. And now, because Braum wasn't there, they just get pushed away and the first one gets stolen and the next reset. And so now Gwen is back and they lose all 6, which is a big shame. Yeah, no sums and no ult as well. Supermassive favorite grubs. Yeah, but I like the priority from LR on that first dragon, but you would want them to make sure that they get that that second set. And the problem is now Gwen and Yone's split pushing threat becomes much more realistic. Okay, wait, why didn't Trist move? I think as soon as you lose prio in mid, you have to give him up. So Trist wants to play for this next wave. You can't just one-shot them. I mean, maybe he can move, but he wants to... If he clears this wave, then he can move after, and it's better because the enemy has to then clear this wave. This one that's coming in. But because Crowny is stuck in mid lane, and we didn't help him come through mid, and he can't bridge. There's no like connect ward here or here. There's no way Crownie can walk into this. Like now he sees them all. Now technically he could start walking, but even then it's so dangerous with no flash, no ult, and Yone has ult, Rel has ult and flash. And so if we wanted to play for these grubs, we had to commit much more resources into mid lane. At this stage already, like if we want to play for these grubs with the swap coming through, this wave we need to make sure we get, and whatever we need to get that, we need to commit to it. And so maybe if Crownie has ult and flash, he can just clear the wave himself in Yone's face. And then that's fine. This lane assignment, this map opening is fine. But he's not in that position. He knows he can't clear this wave. So when Yone comes, he just backs off. Obviously, we can't say it exactly because we don't have the ruffle file. But when Yone comes, he just backs away. And instead, they're just running after top lane. But I think Nidalee can go with Trist and Braum can go with Xayah, and it just works for me. It works a little easier, but it's always going to be difficult because you've got 2-0 Gwen on this side, and so this is why Triss wasn't there immediately, because now Gwen had to be there. But it doesn't matter because no one can come from mid. So they will, in the long trade, they'll trade it for the Drake. But like I said, with these split pushes, they want to. You don't really have like ending the game split push threats anymore. You used to a long time ago. But now, firstly, teams are better at playing on like multiple different waves, and so it's much harder. But also just the way the game works is also harder. But the side lane pressure now with 6 grubs is going to very quickly get to the point where it's like just too much. And you're going to be able to not only generate a massive gold lead, you'll be able to come from like multiple different angles. I don't know how long he's going to take before he gets the upgrade, but now he's starting to one-shot waves. He can start to be a lot freer on the map, which will start making it work, I think, a lot better and better. Oh, and there's also zigs with the grubs as well. How does Crownie get caught in here? So they push up mid, and they run round, but they're just outnumbered here. They're just massively outnumbered. I think so. They should know that this is ours, and this area is the enemies. This is like walking into the enemy jungle. But maybe Nemesis thinks he needs help on the dive, which he might well do. So he's trying to cover. Yeah, exactly. He's trying to cover. But the problem is that you can't go this aggressive way through. Yeah. But the point is that still walking into this way, and now you've lost ult again, and still died, which is big, and now you're still in danger of getting dove. Is really hard. I think if you want to cover, you have to come this way, but then you lose even more minions to this tower. But here, also, like, if you're going to do this dive, by the way, well, Armor doesn't need to go back to mid lane. Braum's not going to one-shot it. So if you want to do this dive now, you don't have the wave. You need Gwen here as well. Otherwise, I think it's too much. But they do get out, at least. Oof. That spear. Okay, he does hit him. Ooh, nice ult from Nemesis. Okay, he does get caught there. Okay, so a bunch of TPs, which allows Crownie to get a free push on this top side. And the 2 dragons, I think, are really useful. So Reckless ult's what keep him away from the wave a bit more, I guess. The fight's just happened, so holding onto your ult, like, you know, there could be a situation that happens, but it's not very likely. Crownie's far forward, doesn't have ult. Herald, of course, with the Ziggs, does just allow you to kind of full take a tower almost certainly. Ziggs passive auto plus W plus grubs probably means you just one-shot a tower, which is, of course, very strong. Okay, now he's got red cane. Now it's 5v5 again. And he's got... I mean, suddenly he's like winning because he still has ult. What? 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 And now he's got a 500 gold lead. Okay. Sure. Okay, sure, yeah. Yeah. And now he's going to be a monster in the game, right? I'm going to be right about the fact that Kane is a monster in the game. I hope. But that's like, from a mental standpoint, that's like game over now, right? I think that was your area where you're like, okay, guys, don't worry. Gwen is super, super strong. Gwen and Yon on side lanes with 6 scrubs. We're chilling. And then Kane gets a solo kill and everyone's like, guys, what happened? It's and that feels so bad. Even if Armut's like, oh, I just misplayed, and next time I'd kill him, it still just feels like, what is going on? He doesn't have ult there now. He's dead. Yeah, okay. Does get a flash though. He just very aggressively goes for the wave. Yeah, it's got spoiled that LR is still in the tournament, so I can guess the rest of the score now. But it's fine. I'm loving it anyway.
Well executed by carrying Fiesta Supermassive, not to be disturbed there. They will step back to get Herald as well. This top lane tower's going to fall in the next wave.
Is Kane stronger than Yon as well now on this stage? Because Yon is really quite fed. I mean, how has he got a 1k gold lead now? It was the symbiotic boots into legging it around the map over and over. Apparently, that was the mega play, and that's honestly what I think Lost Ratones should do more. We were talking about this the other day, that because lane swaps are gone right at the beginning, sure, but still just keep swapping around, and we saw that a lot more today than we have seen previously and against KC, and I really like it because they're so good at moving around the map, basically, and they often draft comps that are good at that, like Rise or in this case, like just getting symbiotic boots and stuff, you know, just like running around. Or before they had the volley bear and the Rise, just like swap. Really good. Yeah, exactly. Because you're just asking difficult questions over and over again, and you're better at it than I think anyone in. Okay, a little bit too far there. I think they're better at it than anyone else in EMEA Masters. Against Yon is probably heavy skill shot matchup. Yeah, I mean, and you do have the ability to dodge one thing with your ult. So if you just dodge his ult with your ult, do you win? Don't know. And he's gone more for the... I think it's very good as an item, but it's not good into Yon particularly. Obviously. So some of the... So if he's still winning the 1v1, then it's really starting to be a problem. But this game is just like such a Bow's game. Just get solo killed like 2 or 3 times. Once or twice was like good death, got the wave. Not once or twice. Actually, yeah, he has that 5 times. Like once or twice has been like he died for the wave. Once or twice he just died, and then suddenly he's just like solo killed his lane opponent. And he's up in gold. Do you think that if lane swaps were not removed, no, I think there are other teams in EMEA Masters who are really good at those early lane swaps, and they were more solved. For me, I think a good game state for LR against anyone in EMEA Masters is we're all moving around the map, and there's not like a sort of set list of plays. So when it was actually the early lanes, that was a bit more, it's not solved, but a bit more like, okay, in this matchup, I do this, and then I come second wave top to cover the dive, or we do this or this or that, you know, like it was a bit more like you could say, okay, I'll do this, then this, then this, then that. And it's a bit more, it's like an opening in chess, you know? Whereas I think LR I mean, they're good in a lot of things, but their best advantage is the moving around the map that's like not organized. And it's like knowing whether they can stay for one more wave or knowing how fast they can move to one side or the other, which I think you can force those kind of trading situations, which we're generally not very good at in ERLs, like quite a lot. Okay, let me look at this team fight. Sorry, went back not far enough. So they're in a good spot. They've got this thing again of coming from multiple angles. Crowny's got his ult, so he's safe to step up quite far forward and even stay near the TP. And Gwen comes in and gets the Xayah ult, but Skeens is just isolated by himself. Baus just buys so much time. 10 farm different. How is his 600 gold lead? It'll be towers or plates. It can't be plates though. He can't have got loads of plates. It'll be what? It's 2 towers to 1. Don't know if he got one of the towers. The shutdown kill as well is wild. So my natural response would be plates and stuff, but it feels like he can't have got that many plates. It feels like, because he was dying so much early on. But also, like, obviously each 1 CS doesn't necessarily equal 1 CS, but I think it's literally just shutdown and like team gold from extra tower and stuff like that. And maybe he was there for the tower versus not there for the tower. But I'm like as confused as you as to why it just happens to. Oh yeah, he could have got mid plates. That's true. That's true. Well, they've already got soul. Jesus, I didn't realize that was the soul fight. Okay. Soul also is super got to be like super obnoxious on stuff like Nidalee as well, right? Because you love the movement speed and you proc it just all the time. But also on Baus too. I think it's good to back away because that's one of the only fights that you can actually throw. Yeah, if they get the 25% extra cloud soul. You press them away from the tower. Enemy can't start Atakan either. If you start Atakan, everyone's dying here, I think. So you just trade towers. And now you've got 6 scrubs, but you're behind the tower still. Because, yeah, the flow swaps. That's a good way to describe it. It's like... yeah, I won't actually show it, but what was the thing someone sent me before? How do they describe it? Tempo, like racing. Those kind of things. Yeah, behind the towers, 6 scrubs, Ziggs, also a Gwen who was very strong on the side lane. And, like double melee solo laners versus... and Ziggs. And you're behind on towers. Because they just move well, which is really good. All about if they can hit these big ultis, because in that previous team fight, Skeens gets caught immediately. Armor isn't really able to do his thing. Fiesta, Bao, none of those ultis hit, and it's all about the ultis for the Supermassive composition. Bao's getting aggressed on once again, but Nemesis is there to support. TP coming in from Crowny as well. Skeens once again the target from Los Ratones. Fiesta flashless, remember, down to half HP. Bao over the wall. The ultimate just about keeps him alive. Okay, but now they're going to get soul, right? They push. Oh, sorry, Atakan. They pushed him away. Oh, it's a little buggy. Needs to reset. Supermassive recoalescing. Trying to step back again. Still 4v5 for the time being, but they're given the space. And like now Triss is getting super strong as well. It's very hard to come in here. That's the 25% soul as well. Like they're just going to be so fast. So difficult to deal with. And also a bunch more XP, which is insanely strong. So it's just equal levels on top and mid. 1 level up in jungle. So levels are closer than you'd expect, I think, given so many plants. You can't see the full plant stacks anywhere, unless I'm blind. Is there someone showing us? Probably not. We are going to get that double AD carry composition for Los Ratones online just before long. This is exactly what you needed to do as Los Ratones. As much as they had a couple iffy moments. Then they get Skeens. And it's going to be Baron with no jungler. Whew. This is a good series. And I think this is so much better for having had Fearless, you know? Okay, and now you're trading this for Baron. I mean, so fast. He almost got away, I think, as well. After all that.
Then he's just going to be able to pick up that kill. This Tristana is in such a strong position. They weren't even able to push the ball wave, is what I was trying to say. So there's now 3 waves to put into a good spot right here for Ratones, and keep up the pressure right now. Feels like Supermassive, as much as their competition should find this, just have to be able to get these ultis off at any point, then they've been really struggling with the short range nature of their competition.
Okay. Coming into last game. I mean, already, it's never like fully over. Okay, like you do have ways to win, but it needs lots of Ratones to mess up if you're Supermassive now. Like you've no agency left on the game. Something I always say. Like it's not on you. You have to go for these like weird plays.
And they're just going to be able to chase right now. Bounce into the backline, gets on top of Bow, see if they can pick up this main carry here for Supermassive.
Okay, they're also just so fast. Like they're just running over you. And to be honest, considering you're doing 4 top lane bans each game, I'd rather be LR coming into this game 5. It's just over. Easy.
It could be no other way.
Okay, game 5. Let me jump into the draft. What a series. Okay. Wait, and then after all that, they just let the Cho'Gath flex on 1? What? What? Like, I don't know. So Ivan's weird, and it makes like weird comps. So that's maybe why. But this is flex Cho'Gath after you've committed 20 bans or whatever to bounce over the series. This is flex a champion he's very strong on, but you can't fully counter it because it can flex. Or Lucian Army into the... that's bold. I like that. I like that. Lucian Army into Jinx comp. Jinx likes to play with dive. I've talked about this a bunch, obviously. Oh, minimized it. And then Milio, at this stage, like there's not that many enchanters to play with it. Leona's gone? Okay. I was going to say, like, why aren't you just playing like Leona or something? But there's so few support champs here. You go like Blitzcrank or something, but Milio seems a bit... I mean, Milio, you can chase away the Cho'Gath or something. Is Sion even bad into... Okay. Okay, I love that, actually. I love that. I don't... Again, this whole strategy of the series, I liked a lot of the Supermassive drafts, but the whole strategy of the series, which is like, we really heavily target bows, it was kind of just all based on that game 4, where I think Kane was still actually insanely good. You know, like that's the massive advantage that you were going to get. You've committed so many bans for this, and you've ended up in a situation where in game 5 he has one of his best champs in the fine matchup. Like, I think this is fine, right? And then this blind Zillion mid, which I think is a real struggle in certain matchups, but if the enemy is already committed to dive on you with Nocturne, with Jinx who wants to run forward, you're not going to get hard outranged when you've got Lucian Army as huge amount of poke. And then you take this for the Kindred for the survivability, and the matchup's really strong. Plus the Zillion to res anyone who... You can res anyone who gets killed. You can speed Cho'Gath, which is going to be a nightmare if he does the Halo Blaze Cho'Gath thing as well. Cho'Gath will just run on anyone. And then you can also res whoever they dive on. Yeah, I think Ivan ban instead of Cho is weird. Like, if you're doing those two bans and he still gets a really good pick that you also just play something kind of standard into, then I think those other two picks are a bit weird. Like, I don't think they're that. Those other two bans, like, I think you just do the third ban and you say, fine. Like, I still think they've mostly done Ivan either not particularly successfully or into Skarner, like everyone has. Like, they let us play Skarner to play Ivan into it. Like, that's the kind of standard. Could you listen to Supermassive comps? Why do they speak? Did they talk about them? Did they share anything? I didn't even know. Yeah, they banned Ivan every game and they banned Cyan every game, and I think they banned. Did they just do the same bans every game? Pretty much. I feel like they banned Ivan every game, and I feel like they banned Cyan Gragas maybe every game. Which I think is never. It's going to be. I'm very skeptical that that's ever the optimal strategy. That in every game, the best things to get rid of, when there's different champs every game, the best things to get rid of are the exact same. I'm suspicious that that's ever the case. Even just one flexing. But now you're in game 5. This is where you're like, we should have done pick 5 of Bowser Champions in game 1. Then we wouldn't have. We got all our bans back. That's what we should have done. Yeah, first 3 bans all been the same as. I don't know if they don't stream. Most teams don't, so I'm just assuming that they don't. They might, and if they do, it's probably in Turkish, and I don't speak Turkish, unfortunately. Game 4 they banned choosing. Game 4 they banned Cho instead of Ivan. Was that? This is what they should have done in game 5. Because I don't think you're blinding Ivan. And if you want to play Nocturne anyway, is Ivan bad? Isn't that fine? Aren't you more worried about Kindred as Nocturne than you are about Ivan? Maybe not. Who knows? Especially with the Cho'Gath gone as well. Like, I don't know what he picks here, by the way. If Cho'Gath's gone, I don't know what he picks. As soon as you give him one of his best champs, he's going to pick that. And it's going to be fine. Yeah, but Quinn blind, I think he probably would have to. And if you've got Ivan and you've got Quinn, we talked about this before, I don't think that's... If you've got this kind of bot lane, for example, and Ivan and Quinn, like that's a wild comp. Yeah, sorry, I'm still doing this like thing of not paying enough attention to the games. Scheme was trying to do the Red Invaders game 3, but I predicted it. Okay, nice. Yeah, so he skips Raptors and goes straight for the red. Skeens does love the early invades, like I was saying in game 1. Or he always used to. I haven't watched him play this year. And now Nocturne's just walked in and missed 2 camps, so it's really nice. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same like Jun or whoever, like any of these people like Kindred players. Nocturne is always the one that you think about it. Oh, Baus will pick the Renekton. If he's first time in Renekton in game 5, I much prefer that to, and they have Ivan, I'd much prefer that to what this has ended up being. So this skirmish, but he's got a level lead. And the double off, really nice juke on the Q. That's going to get them the push. Zillion's come down as well after using TP. Why next? What makes Kindred so strong against him? When you dive in as Nocturne, you've got no way to get back out. And so firstly, you diving in, which Kindred likes, because then you can just be hitting people. And also you have the ult to save whoever. So like, it can work into Vi as well, but because Vi has the CC on her ult as well, sometimes you can just get one shot as Kindred. But Nocturne in this game, I think, is not having a good time. They can get slowed down very easily by Zillion. You've got so much damage coming in with the Kindred carry as well, and then also you can just get eaten by Cho'Gath. I don't think they can actually dive this, can they? This is the problem of Zillion, like they saw in the game when they played it against us, is that I think it's insane in the comps. You know, like it really like completes comps. It makes them so difficult to play against. It's all the things that LR would want. It gives you so much speed. It gives you like just ways to roam around the map instantly. But it's very hard in lane and competitive. So the fact that he got the 6 there, I think was really good. They are going to get this dive. Okay. Big. Big, big, big. Lose blue for it, but who cares? Oh, you lose grubs as well. Okay. Well, at least there's a proper trade. I mean, yeah. Just recalls in his face, run back. Is he going Dead Man's Plate or something? This is less AP than I was thinking. Kindred's got 4 stacks. Jesus. Yeah, she's got, that's extra range, right? Already. Any chance of watching Game 5 Heretics versus TP? I just have a few things that I have to do, unfortunately. So probably not.
It's exactly what you want as a Lost Ratones fan right here. Supermassive, they've got to be a little bit worried with this kind of composition into what Lost Ratones have. You want the massive advantage because killing people later on through all of these revives and invulnerabilities is going to be so unbelievably tricky. It's going to be all about trying to get these ultis out before a team fight starts and then waiting, re-engaging and trying to play the team fight out the second time. You just try to avoid everything on that first initial engage. It's not going to work.
So they're just threatening the ult, and if you engage on them, then Kindred's there. Like they're threatening the like E-ult combo. I thought that was the ult from Aurora, by the way. This W from Velia. I was like, that's weird because it kind of looks the same, no? And then she's like moving, just not quite as big. Okay, so the first ult comes through, and now the Zillion ult can come through. Oh, Nemesis doesn't die. Lucian Milio's pretty high win rate combo as well. I think it would have been better than Nami considering Kindred. That would have been super pick against him. I think the Lucian Nami combo, I think it's strong enough, right? That I think I'll probably prioritize it instead of the Milio, because especially at that stage, they don't have like a bunch of CC. It's not like you're cleansing the Maokai or you're cleansing, I don't know, Lilia or something. So there's not huge value in the Milio ult at that stage. And it could be later on in the game there might be, but it could be like here, there isn't that much value in the Milio ult for either team. So I think Nami just works a bit better. Is there a player you've always enjoyed working with since your coaching? I loved working with, well, a lot of the players from last split, but I really liked working with Treats. I think we got on really well. It was great working with, well, like I say, all of them. That's the thing. I think Chachi's fantastic player to work with. He's like the ultimate top laner to work with. He's actually been probably my favorite top laner to work with as well. So many of the roster last split I just loved working, but it's also it's so much about your environment as well, you know, and what else is going on. So for example, like I'm sure there are players that I coached when I was in the LEC that probably in a lot of other situations might be like near the top of my favorites to work with. But because of all the other horrible things that were going on at the time around what I was doing and the people that I was working with on the coaching side of things and the way that org was structured, they're never going to be high on my list. But it could be that those exact same players in a better environment, I would have loved working with. Whether it's like Expect or Cage or whoever, like I felt like I was useless and that's never fun. And I felt like I was useless because of things that were outside of my control, which is also never fun. So I'm like naturally against the players that I had that experience with, and that's always going to make it harder to kind of judge. Also, I'm a much better coach now than I was, so that makes a difference too. And I really like working with like Steelback and stuff as well. Okay, I think they just go too far here because now their tools are down. Like they don't have the Kindred ult. They do have the ult from Nemesis, but they're just too. They're just too. They're too far forward. And they're all a very squishy comp. Like this is a hard comp to play, but it's game 5, so. It's not easy to end up with an easy comp to play. Sorry, I'm still just nervously checking my phone about this delivery thing. Yeah, Renekton comes down as they're threatening this dive, right? Like he just walks down? Yeah. So Renekton bases, and because they know that LR are playing on this side, like he comes to help retake, and he's going to swap, and they can teleport up for the grubs, because like we said, they high prioritize grubs. So they want to, this is the swap that you would do for 6 grubs, and he just waits, because it looks like they're kind of making this dive quite obvious. I also think later stages of the game, this should be I think, really good for LR. Kindred later on obviously is an absolute monster. Like I said, the comp, if all the tools are up, it's really hard for you to jump in and get that first kill, which Jinx loves. Jinx wants you to dive with you and then get that first kill, and they run over the rest of the team fight. Crowny's very greedily trying to stop that base. So that's a big throw, because they're in a very good spot. But another mark. Another mark and the grubs. Not that you would take that, but that's actually okay. Another mark and another stack for another stack for Cho. You get a free, like you get an epic monster stack by feasting one of those, right? A void grub. I think so. Like it doesn't count towards your stacks. So another couple of stacks. Death in mid though. But he's still in a decent spot. You got the dragon, you equalized out the grubs. And like I say, I think the comp, I think Zilean is like, he's what, 40 CS down or something. That's the downside of picking Zilean. The upside is what you're about to experience. So I think it is good later on. Okay.
One of the main carries for the team. This whole Lost Ratones team has been able to step up in different moments. That's the thing with having this many big names and some promising younger players as well. As much as Bounce has been around in the scene for a while, rookie in terms of proper competitive play. He's had a bit of an up and down series so far. The Shogun looking great. He's made it past 15 minutes without a Bounce death in this one. Feels pretty good so far for Lost Ratones, as they're going to be able to pick up this bot lane tier 1 tower. Right now the response from Suppermassive is going to be to try to
Get first tower for the Herald. I think that's fine. That's good. You're one objective away from getting the booties. Okay. He just keeps jumping back in, and eventually they get him. Does get a lot of damage down. So is that going to be Dragon? I think so. I think they all just reset and run out, and maybe they get Dragon. Okay. You get the ultimate from Nemesis, though. That's quite big. But Baus just takes over in the trade, and I think it's very hard to do anything. The fact that he's against Shogath and he's able to go Hollow Radiance. Sorry, against Shogath. Against he's against Renekton Nocturne, and he's able to go Hollow Radiance first item. If you're Aurora, I'm like pissy about that. I'm like, you guys couldn't pressure him to buy one armor item? Why is he building against me? Good thing we did so many top burns. All of the late game right here for Supermassive. They get hard outscaled in a 45-minute plus game. You know, once the stacks really begin to heat up for Velia and Baus. But once you get the 3-4 items, that's the point where Baus is going to be the absolute strongest. And this is what you want to do as Lucian Army. You want to get on mid waves, and you want to just ult on people for kind of poke. And that's why we were saying like the 4-5 of like with the Kindred, I think is really good, because you also don't get outranged, because you can force people to like engage on you, because otherwise Lucian is just going to do this, and so you need to engage. Nemesis is going to have to ult again. Zilean is so like vulnerable in competitive games. Well, and in solo queue games, but like I say, you take it, you just say, I don't care that I'm going to be 50 sets down, like I'm going to be Zilean, and so you guys are going to have my stuns and slows, plus one of you will get revived, and that'll be how it's like 5.5 v5. Baus gets in. He does get the ult. And now look, like what does Nocturne do? He runs at someone and Kindred just ults them. I think you have to know that Velia is just going to play Kindred into your Nocturne, by the way, as well. Like, I don't know what they banned on full 5, but I'm worried about Kindred if I'm playing Milio, so I know I'm not going to have like a support diving with my Nocturne, and yeah, I don't know what they banned. But it's so easy, by the way, as a team or as a coach to get in your own head in a best of 5. I mean, look at that Fnatic thing. And Mickey, the way he said it on the podcast was like, what? We just forgot about Jarvan. Like, you can look at that from the outside and say, oh my God, how did they forget about Jarvan? And yes, I do think it's very bad. But also, in practice, there's just best of 5s. Like, game 5 is weird. It's just weird. It's weird for everybody. Why didn't they take Nara on 3? Yeah, I mean, I think that they must just be worried about support. The question is always, when you're in that situation, the question is always to your support player, can you drop? Like, do you have 3? I would think you have 3 into that. I think like Blitzcrank and stuff is better than Milio, but you have to be able to play it. So that's obviously really hard. Pike, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and you take Nara on 3. And then it's good into Cho'Gath, I would think, or better at least. But you can still play Cho'Gath top into it for sure, right? But you can't even hard counter the Cho'Gath if there was a hard counter left, because it can also go mid. And now he just gets like he's got no dashes. Like Zilean and stuff is so annoying. But how do you get to Jinx as LR? You don't need to. That's my point. Because like Lucian Nami ult combos are just so much poke, and also you can get on her if you need to, because you just like Zilean either Cho'Gath and he'll run at the Jinx. But Jinx, like the front to back, I think is good for LR. They have more range and front to back, so that means Supermassive have to engage on them. They don't need to jump on Jinx. If Jinx ever steps up too far forward, he just gets culling with the Nami E in the face, and it's just they're like a poke. They're like a poke duo. That's going to be third dragon. They also have the boots as well. So here, for me, going into this area is already a little risky because, like we said, oh well, they want multiple different directions. And this almost one taps the. Okay, there you go. Actually, does with the ult, you couldn't save because Nocturne ult meant that you couldn't res. But even then, they lose the fight. But that's, I think, a good a start as possible. And now Velia is just. He's gonna get a pentakill? No, the football. He almost gets a penta in game 5. Like, this guy likes Kindred. We could have given him like the best Kindred game for game 5. Jinx doesn't get resets here exactly. I think this draft is really good. I love it.
He was able to get those 4 marks so quickly on in this game and has really taken over the map. We've had questions about this map pretty much throughout the entire series, throughout the entire tournament. I've got to be honest. This game, this is what
yeah, also you've got Rumble. I mean, like Nocturne Rumble, by the way. Like, does Armor not play Rumble? Is Rumble like been hard nerfed and I just completely missed it? Because again, that could be true. I haven't obviously when we haven't been scrimming, I haven't. Oh, he has 0% win rate on Rumble. Is that why he's not playing Rumble?
a complete disaster right now. Baron already on the
3
field.
games, 0% win rate.
Everything away when you've got a
But I think it's really good here. Like Rumble on 3 as well.
It feels like he's just trying to do something, anything.
You take Rumble on 3, you got Nocturne Rumble, and you can later on still go for stuff like the Aurora if you want. And then you've got so much dive to go with the Jinx. And the fact that that fight still went really well is just, it's, I mean, it's, this is the same thing we talked about before. They have to go for this like weird stuff, and it looks awful when it doesn't work, but you have to try it, because if you just do it normally. Yeah, I think Rumble on 3 is really good. Like, Nami, Lucian are really vulnerable to like the Nocturne, like Rumble on 3 and ban Kindred, and I think you're in a much better spot. But also, like I said, I think if you're banning 2 tops, you have to ban all 3 tops. There's 3 of his favorite top lane champs left. Banning 2 of them is useless. Okay, I guess you can make the argument that he's slightly better at Sion or Gragas, you know, but he's still going to be really valuable in this game. And so you've got 2 bans and you've not really got much for it. That'd be the way that I would think about it. Are there any updates on the Nord roster? I don't know yet. I think not. It's going to be announced today, but I think it's not going to happen while we're streaming. While I'm streaming, because I'm going to go after this game. So there will be. Follow Nord Esports on Twitter. It will be announced today. I did confirm that earlier. They're going to run over the game. Huge. Huge, huge, huge. I think, yeah, this draft, I think the game 4 one as well was also really good. But this one is, I think, so strong. And the game looks close early on because Zilean is just going to fall behind in golden lane, but that's, who cares? Like, even if you kill Bowser, he's going to get rezzed. Huge. Absolutely huge. I hope I'll get this info elsewhere because I've got no Twitter. Well, shall I ask, when can I talk about the... do you know when I can talk about the roster? Probably not now, but if he replies now, then I'll tell you. If not, I'll tell you next time I stream, although I'm not streaming over the weekend. Like, let's go back just quickly to pick some bands. Skarner Jarvan. I think both of those are much worse than Kindred. So Zilean Skarner actually sounds obnoxious as well, but... So for me, I think this should be Cho. I think this should be Rumble. Obviously, this is kind of easier to say in hindsight. Like, I'm not... I want to make this clear. Like, I don't ever... When I'm doing this, like, analysis thing, like, I'm not saying I would do better. I'm saying, like, now we've had the time to breathe. I think this should be Rumble, assuming you have 3 picks, because I don't think the Amelia was... I think it was kind of useless here anyway, so... I don't think... I think you take Rumble here, you ban Kindred. If you can leave Jarvan up if you haven't taken support, because you can take Thresh as well if they take Jarvan. Actually, you wouldn't have the chance to. Then you take support here, and then you can take your mid on 5. And I think that's already much better, because I think this draft, when you finish it, like, it's so free for Kindred. Even now, like, she doesn't need anything else. I think it's so free. Once you spot them, they disappear. New question: how do blue trinkets ward work? Like, sometimes they disappear after someone was close, but what's the interaction there? They have to be hit. They stay there forever, and they have to be hit. But the thing that they do that's a little bit weird in Spectate especially is, or actually in the game I think as well, sometimes when you see them, they do the animation as if they've just been placed, even if they've been there for ages. Let me check. Blue ward lol. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. If someone stands in the vision range of them for a few seconds, they will disappear even if they're not hit. So target all allies. Enemy champions revealed are automatically pinged. Wait, where did I see that though? I can't see it now. Okay, upon detecting an enemy champion, the ward will increase its sight radius and then destroy itself after 3 seconds. Okay. So that's why it does the animation as well. When did they change that? Okay, version 13.10, 2 years ago. Okay, my excuse is I wasn't scrimming with the team when they changed that. That's always my excuse. Because like when I'm not scrimming, I don't really pay attention to any of this stuff. Like I say, when I play the game, I'm just playing for fun, just playing with friends. And I don't even do that very much. And then when I'm scrimming, I pay a lot of attention, obviously, but I learn it from doing the scrims. So I wasn't scrimming during that time. So that change is something that just completely passed me by. So, for example, halfway through the season or partway through the season, Charchi had to tell me like, oh, they changed the way side lane minions work, by the way, because they just changed it while I wasn't working with a competitive team. I was just working with coaches instead. Okay, so that's it for the games today. That was really fun. I will change the YouTube VOD as well to Watchparty because that is. That's much more like what it was, and I love that. So I'm actually going away for the weekend. I'm going with my wife to Grenoble, and so I won't be here. I don't know if I'm going to manage to avoid spoilers for the whole weekend, but I will come back, and there's no LEC, right? LEC is next weekend. In which case, next week, I'll do watch parties for the rest of EMEA Masters. Tomorrow... LEC 29th of March. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. So, yeah, I'm going to be away for the weekend, but I'll do the watch parties, hopefully, to watch LR win the semi-finals and finals on not Monday, because we're doing our actual first scrims, but Tuesday, Wednesday. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and hope you have a really good weekend.